Oh, Willie Mealy was his name. He brought some great names to the game when he was the boss at Celtic Park. He taught them how to play football. He made the greatest of them all. Gallagher and Quinn have left their mark. Some great names to the game when he was the boss at Celtic Park. He taught them how to play football. He made the greatest of them all. McNeil and Dalglish have left their mark. They gave us James McCrory and Maurice Day. They gave us Johnson, Tully,
Hail, and welcome to HomeBhoys number 86, entitled The Celtic Trust. You will be absolutely happy to hear. You can stop sending emails begging for my return, but yes, I have arrived. It's Harper. Joe's laid up with toothache, so I'm back to steer the ship, and that's probably how you ended up with about 30 seconds dead air. There.
Yeah, I was talking about baseball.
And the mic wasn't on. So, as I said, this show is entitled The Celtic Trust. We're going to be joined by the one and only Jeanette Finlay later on, maybe about 8:15, so about half an hour, 35 minutes. And you will be able to Skype in and ask Jeanette basically anything you want. Of course, as usual, on the line at the moment, we'll have a brief chat about the football before we get Jeanette on. I have the one and only Jason Higgins. You there, Jason?
Hello, mate. I'm here.
And the recently published, yet again, Green and White writer, Mr. Paul Larkin.
Hello.
Right, I just got myself a beer here. Paul, you can now call me the running man. I've started running.
You started running?
Aye, I got an email.
Where are you running from?
I got an email for Football Aid today, right? And it's,
Aye.
it's basically about 6 weeks till that football match. I'm like, what? I'm still thinking I've got like 6 months. You know what I mean? So I done a wee thing running back from my work today, right? Got off the bus early. And it's this app. Wait a minute, it's this app you've got, right, called Couch to 5K in 10 weeks, right? And basically you walk for 5 minutes to warm up, then jog for a minute, walk for 1.5 minutes, jog for a minute, for half an hour, right? But I'm in all my working gear. Do you know what I mean? So I just kept, when I was running, I thought I'm going to look stupid as anything. So I kept looking at my watch every 30 seconds. So if anybody looked at me, they'd just think I was late for wherever I was going. I didn't want anybody to think I was running. Do you know what I mean? Anyway.
Because I tell you, if you get the further you get, Harper, with your skills, I mean, you might well get a contract out of this.
Well, man, you just never know. I was normally one of these guys who didn't have to leave the centre circle, but I'm taking up the centre half berth, so we'll see how it goes. Right, anyway, that's enough nonsense. But if you're up in Drawdown, you see a guy running rapid, looking at his watch, it's probably me. I'm not really late for anything. But there you go. Right, so let's get down to business. Game at the weekend. St Mirren won. Celtic won. I'll have to defer to your good selves because I only seen the second half. I was out with the boys for the Easter commemorations here in Ireland. And that ran on a wee bit. So I missed the first half. So Jason, I'll go over to you. You were sending me a couple of wee updates. Chris McGuigan was sending me updates as well. Said he told me it was a brilliant first half, chances at each end and that. So the second half must have went all wrong. But tell me about the first half, Jason.
I thought Celtic done all right, but I didn't think we deserved any more than a draw. But the overriding thing for the game was just Bobby Madden. That was probably the worst refereeing decision performance I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. The guy was just totally incompetent, and probably more so at St Mirren after the first half. You know, they had a perfectly good goal disallowed, although it was a foul on the keeper, but it was because Azagiri shoved one of their players. He fouled Foster. And
he may have got that wrong, but would you not say that was... it was probably more down to the linesman, that I think, because maybe the angle he was looking at, it would have looked like a foul, I thought. Because it definitely wasn't a foul, it should have stood. So it's up to the linesman, really, to come in there. He's looking straight across at it, like.
Aye, potentially then the linesman as well. He's bloody... Samaras has hit his elbow.
Aye.
You know, and he's totally missed that again, and the ref let play on. So
I'm looking for a penalty at the other end every day of the week for that, like.
Oh, I know. But for us, it was a great goal by Commons, you know, absolute downer, him getting an injury. It looked a right bad one, but have you heard how bad it is? I've been looking about and it's...
Jason, I've been hiding under my bed for a couple of days for the DTs, so...
Aye.
Any knowledge I gain, I'm going to get for you guys tonight, basically.
Looked really bad, and what a goal he scored, the header. He's not known for his prowess in there, but it was a great goal. And I just thought once we went 1-0 up, we were going to go in and we could have scored another. Hooper missed a good chance. He was sort of off balance. He took a shot. That was in the first half again. But we could have had a few, and it was a pretty open game in the first half. But we just capitulated in the second half, and when Yama gets sent off, and that was another disgraceful decision. I mean, I don't even think it was a yellow card. He's just sort of put his foot out, and
yellow
it was 2
card
yards,
almost.
2 yards in front of the ref. Gives him a straight red, and then their penalty. It's how ironic's that the guy's going to get a 2-match ban for simulation, but at the end of the day, it's after the event, and it's not going to help Celtic any. And we were talking about this scenario at work today. So say us and Motherwell were neck and neck to win the league, and St Mirren are playing Motherwell next week, like they are, and he dies for a penalty against us, gets the penalty, and then gets suspended for next week against Motherwell. So it's a double whammy. But it was never a penalty. It was outside the box. It wasn't even a foul. But
it was outside the box. It wasn't a foul. But at least I suppose I'm glad to see that he's getting pulled up with retrospect, like, do you know what I mean?
But does it do Celtic any favours?
No, it doesn't do Celtic any favours, but I hate seeing guys getting away with it, like, do you know what I mean? I do like seeing them get punished, and I do think as well, referees, especially your man, he's going to get a lot of criticism for the game at the weekend, and they don't like to get the piss taken either, like, and that'll be, he won't get that penalty again, your man.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? So,
but what I would say is, Merton totally deserved a draw at least. A second half performance. I know we were down to 10 men, but they battered us, and we were all over the place. We just wasn't good enough for a Celtic team. And Neil Lennon's got a lot of thinking to do. I actually speak louder than words, and again he comes out after the game slating them for the performance. Obviously he was right upset with the referee, and rightly so. But
was this when he's actually I was in the pub and
I've just read today that he's getting charged.
He's up for a charge, for swearing.
Language. What's that? I don't know what the words he said, but it seemed like
he called Jim Goodwin a fanny.
Right.
Oh,
right.
Aye, but he was obviously meaning in the American term. That's no swearing.
Fanny pack.
Aye, fanny pack.
That's your purse. That was my purse.
So Paul, like as I says, I was in the pub and I thought it was as poor a second, just a poor game, like in the second half, and I can barely remember any standout moments apart from the refereeing decisions, I think, which says a lot. And I suppose as well, see the thing as well, I found it really boring, and it was easy to get distracted through the game for people in the pub. Do you know, people coming up and talk to you I hadn't seen for ages and that. And it was easy. I found myself getting distracted very easily because the game was just bad. Like, I mean, I don't know what you think.
Oh no, it was appalling. I mean, it was awful. I mean, you look at the stats after it. Someone had 60% possession, near shots, near corners. I mean, we were absolutely dreadful. I mean, I saw a guy tweeting Gary Rupert on the day after saying, "I'll meet you at Nando's at 12 o'clock to get my 25 quid back that I wasted watching you on Sunday." That's what it was like. I mean, it was that bad. And kind of thought after the game at Ross County, we kind of capitulated there as well that, you know, Neil Lennon says he went through 2 or 3 of the players and blah, blah, blah. I kind of thought, you know, that's fine, but where does that leave you to go if it happens again? And it's happened again. And it just seems to be, you know, you can't put your finger on it, but something just doesn't seem right and behind the scenes in the club or whatever. I mean, I don't know, you know, what it is, but just players just aren't performing at all. And, you know, I mean, Samaras, you know, I mean, it was like sometimes if Samaras has a bad game, you make mistakes, whatever, and people get so frustrated. He just wasn't involved in the game at all. You know, ditto Hooper, ditto, I mean, it's just like went on like that all the time. And as Jason says, I mean, someone could easily have won that game and probably should have.
See the thing for me, right? It seems to be a reoccurring theme for the last wee while where we're saying players aren't given 100%. They're no busting a gut. They're no trying hard enough. Well, I mean, how many games can you keep saying that before? Why is that no changing? That's what I'm basically trying to say. I mean, as you said yourself, Jason, Neil Lennon's came out and slated him. He's kicking ass. I mean, I don't think we're in any doubt Neil Lennon will be going through them behind closed doors. Do you know what I mean? So how do they come out the next week and it just looks so lacklustre, so low tempo? I mean, why is that no changing? The players that are coming in, like, I've been quite disappointed in Stokes. He's flashes of decency, but a guy coming in, he should be fresh. It's like his season's just basically started. He's trying to win a new contract, and it's just not happening. I'm not trying to get down on Stokes. I'm just giving one example. The players that are coming into the team who've been on the fringes, Kayal as well, I suppose. And it's just, I've not really seen anything that makes you say, "Oh, it's great to have him back in the team." As Paul says, I can't put my finger on it. Who do you keep changing? Who do you bring in? How do we change this? How do we get it up tempo?
Me personally, I just think when Celtic play without any wide men, we're terrible. Especially in Scotland, their full game's about attacking down the flanks, getting full backs overlapping and getting cross balls in, and it's not happening. And we're just not doing it. And see going through the middle, teams can defend against us easily if we're going through the middle. And Big Wanyama's, he's not kicked a ball for weeks. He doesn't look interested at all. His mind's somewhere else.
He's already gone, eh?
He's no trying a leg. And just, I don't know, you're right, Harper. I mean, Neil Lennon said this countless times, but we don't know what he's doing behind the scenes, but it's obviously not working.
I mean,
Because
when you keep
they
saying
were
there,
lacklustre again the following week.
if I can see Wanyama's heading on it, you can see it, Paul could probably see it, the amount of people you hear saying it, why is he playing? Because we know it's not a shop window. Because the teams that have got to come in for Wanyama, they've already decided if they're coming in for him or not. Although some of them might look at the kind of attitude and maybe be seeing a wee different side to the player. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not very professional in my opinion. Like, but why is Neil Lennon still picking these guys? Because it's all right going through them and coming out and let the fans know he's angry and that, but then to pick them the next week, it's kind of sending you two different messages. Like,
no, definitely. I mean, it's just there's loads of players' performance levels have dropped, and it's easy to say, hand after two in and then take the foot off the gas or whatever. But it's happening week in, week out, because even the last game, that we won against Aberdeen, I mean, we didn't start playing for, till 15 minutes to go or whatever. And, I'm not saying this is happening, but it reminds me of situations you see when a manager's going to leave at the end of the season and the players just gear up. That's what it feels like is happening. The players are just, I don't know if they've got their eye on a new move elsewhere or whatever, but there's some of them there that they're just going through the motions. And as you say, Harper, I don't know how you just change this, because he's picking the same players every week. I mean, some of the decisions I thought were bizarre. I mean, Commons, surely McGeoch comes on, Commons gets injured, stuff like that, and that's still a guy that can play and go wide and stuff like that. But it doesn't happen, and with the talent we've got in the team, we should be wiping the flavour with them, and that's twice now where they've basically scalped us.
See another thing. See, like Martin O'Neill, for all the great times that he brought us, and he gave me my best ever time supporting Celtic. But he definitely had his faults, and he was totally rigid with his team. He didn't deviate, and it was the same players, and he would force players in just so that we get a game. And it broke my heart basically, breaking up the Larsson and Sutton partnership, and he made sure Hartson get in there, and he put Big Sutton back in the centre half or play him in midfield. I think Neil Lennon's the same, in certain ways. Like guys like McGeoch, Tony Watt, guys that excite the fans. They get a wee run and then nothing. Niall McGinn, I know a lot of people say Niall McGinn wasn't Celtic class and stuff like that. I don't think the lad got a fair crack at the whip. But Paddy McCourt excites the fans, but I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but Lennon doesn't. He'll do anything to get Charlie Mulgrew in there. Charlie Mulgrew must play, so it doesn't matter if he's playing right wing or no. He's got to get a game, and I'm not getting at Mulgrew here because I think Mulgrew's a good player as well. But do you know what I mean? I'm maybe not explaining what I'm trying to say. I know exactly what
you mean. Martin O'Neill made sure Chris Sutton played anywhere as long as Chris Sutton was in the team.
No, but I think made it the point Chris Sutton should have played up front. He made sure John Hartson was in the team.
But that's what I mean. I know that's what you're getting at. I mean, Neil Lennon's a wee bit like Martin O'Neill in the way that he's got his guys that he wants to play all the time, and he'll find a place for them no matter what. See, I agree with you, Jason. When you look at like say Tony Watt and Roderick on the bench as well, right? These are guys who I think would come in with a bit of enthusiasm, a bit lift the pace of the game a wee bit tempo. But he brought them in there for the game at Fir Park and got slated for it. Do you know what I mean? But it wasn't those boys that were to blame for the result at Fir Park. But then they're the boys that come back out the team.
Aye, I know. It's your tried and tested players, and plus he's come out and said he's no named them. That you never know who he's at. But people are thinking like it's Kai Al he's talking about. Sometimes like against Ross County, that's no good enough after the game. And some of these players better have a look at themselves. And surely he's not talking about the young laddies that he just gave a run out. Surely he's on about more experienced players in the team. And then you're expecting some revolutionary changes to happen the following week. It just doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. And McGeoch's still on the bench. Rodgers is still on the bench. But I think we definitely miss Wee Forrest. We definitely miss that presence getting in the wing. And as you say, Paul, Samaras is worse than a man short at the minute.
Aye.
And he's your other winger, but he's just alone to himself. And I'm not getting to the guy because a few months ago,
Well, Jason, you can get him. You can get them because we can kind of get at them all at the minute. There's no many playing that are getting pass marks recently, like. And
with the personnel we've got at our disposal, let's face it, we shouldn't be only 13 points clear in this league.
Well, I mean, look at that St Munn side. Just about every one of the players has played for Celtic at one stage. Do you know what I mean? We should be rolling out of the top of that team. Not one. All the boys weren't good enough to play for Celtic. That's why they're at St Mirren.
Right. And the thing is as well, all right, the referee was terrible. He was terrible, but he helped us in the first half. Don't forget that. You know, he was just as bad for St Mirren. The park was beautiful. The weather was perfect. There is no excuses there whatsoever.
Are we doing a wee bit of disservice to St Mirren?
Probably a wee bit.
Because, I mean, when you look at the amount of players that did play for Celtic, they're obviously, whenever they play us, they've got a big point to prove, Paul.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it's... there was actually a discussion about this a couple of weeks ago where Pat Niven was talking about the fact that all these players have now got old for Celtic and he's quoting players that should have left Celtic and all that, and making an arse sale as usual. But there's no doubt, I mean, they're developing you know, the talent in there. I mean, talking about Martin O'Neill with Chris Sutton, I mean, if you remember, the reason Martin O'Neill done that initially was to stop two guys doing it at Ewood Park, if they ran the show at Celtic Park. Put Chris Sutton on him, wasn't in the game, we won the game comfortably, and then he never read it. But one thing Martin O'Neill always knew before anything else was, in the SPL, you have to win the battle first. It's a prerequisite. You've got to wear them down first, and then you'll just play your football. And we're not doing that at teams right now. Even when we're going a goal up and stuff, we're still not wearing teams down. They still think they've got a chance against us because we're appearing to be too brittle right now.
And the thing is, Paul, wait a minute, right? Look at that lineup, right? The guys naming here: Ambrose, right? Wanyama, Kelvin Wilson, Kayal, Ledley, Commons, Mulgrew, right? None of them are shrinking violets. We should be winning the battle.
No, I know, that's what I mean, and I think that for whatever reason, some of these players are going through the motions.
Aye, and it's perplexing.
That's right, because Jason, it's hard to put your finger on it.
And mine Terry used to phone up quite a lot, Terry O'Neill, and he made a great point, you know, that Celtic should be, for the first whistle, Celtic should be at the jugular at these teams and killing them. But sometimes it takes us a goal, 2 goals to go behind before we start playing. And then you say to yourself, especially at home, you're saying at Celtic Park, how can we not have this attitude for the start? But sometimes it takes us to go a goal or 2 behind. And then the crowd to get behind them, and then it's all guns blazing, and you can see scoring 5 or 6 in the last 10 minutes, and you're saying, well, what's wrong that you can't do that at the start?
I mean, the old adage used to be for the opposition teams coming to Celtic Park, if we survive the first 20 minutes, we've got half a chance.
Yeah,
because they knew it'd be an onslaught.
Yeah.
The Tommy Burns era was a bit different. He would pass teams off the park and wear them down, and in the last 20 minutes would score loads of last-minute goals and late goals and stuff like that. Martin O'Neill's teams just run out, as you say, just get in there right away, bar him. And then he realised when teams were changing their tactics, that Celtic would actually come out a wee bit slower, then wait 20 minutes and then attack them, and then he would score loads of goals before half-time. And now we're just kind of, we're back to these games where you don't know what you're going to see one week for the next.
And against Aberdeen, Paul, we're 1-0 up after 20 seconds, so you're saying, now's the time, here's another 9-0. I turn around to a boy next to you and says, another 9-0 in the cards here. The next thing you know, you're 3-1 down.
Have we been found it?
Possibly.
Like, teams just know how to play us. I mean, I know we play each other that often, so a good manager should be working out eventually how to stop Celtic playing. You're talking about how you can stop Celtic playing down the wings. You're stopping the balls coming, the cutbacks for Hooper and the likes. I mean, is that the big problem? We just don't have that sort of creative man in the middle of the park when we are getting funneled through the middle.
I think so, because I think if you're an opposition team and you keep us at bay for 60 minutes, you'll probably beat us.
Right. See, another thing as well, we use the excuse like we're missing Scott Brown, we're missing this, we're missing that. We shouldn't be missing MD.
No.
You know,
exactly.
we should be able to take 5-6 players out of that team every week.
Aye.
The guys that are stepping in should still be good enough to win that league.
Oh well, they are going to win the league, like, but they should.
No, I know, but I mean,
they should be playing better. They should be. They should be. They've got a big support there, paying a hell of a lot of money this season to follow them in Europe, to follow the away games, cup games, and I don't think people are getting value for money.
Well, see, this is that, and this is the sort of it's a bit of a stumbling block for me. Like, you'll go and watch Celtic regardless. You love Celtic, that's it. But when you know you've got guys out there that are earning 10 times what the guys they're playing are earning, and they aren't battering them, then people start asking questions. And it's probably just at the age we live in, because if we were any of the Celtic players, we would take the money. You know, anybody else would take the money. If somebody's willing to pay you, you'll take it. So does that necessarily mean that you should be 10 times better than that other player? Well, no. It just means that your employer's willing to pay you that money. So we can't really blame the players. But what we can say is then the organisation that's putting them there, that's deeming them to be worthy of earning that money, they've got to justify it by managing them to play in a way that sort of justifies it to the support.
And the biggest problem there, Jason, you've hit the nail on the head, because and we've said it, it's been a running theme right through this already. We didn't think the players are given enough commitment.
And then in Europe they were. Look at them in the Champions League.
And that's what bugs you even more, because you know they've got it. You know the heights that team can go to. So they're only going to turn up for big games. That's unacceptable. You're still getting paid the same wage every week.
That's right. I mean, remember what the Barcelona players said after we beat them? We said, what do these guys eat? I mean, they could not believe how fit and strong and committed they were and all that kind of thing. And, you know, that is spot on, Harper. You just look at it and go, we know you're capable of better than this, so how come you're not producing it?
I know, man. That's why I was brought back this week for spot on comments.
And are we confident a week Sunday against Dundee United?
In the Cup?
Aye.
I wouldn't be. I didn't think, to be honest, I don't think you'd be overconfident. Celtic. I mean, I always think Celtic's got to win every time I switch on the television to watch them. Yeah. Right? I think Celtic's got to. I've never went to a game in my life and thought Celtic weren't going to win. No. But there's times when you're confident, right? I was confident with Hump Ross County, Neil Lennon's first cup game. Like, do you know what I mean? You can be confident all you like. It doesn't really work out that way, but you wouldn't be overly confident Celtic playing anybody at the minute.
Well, Dundee United made a huge mistake when they came to Celtic Park the last time. They tried to play us at football, right? Yeah. They were open, the strikers were all over the place, and we annihilated them. Yeah. There was absolutely no chance on earth for them doing that in the semi-final next week. Not a hope in hell, because they're going to come, they're going to sit and frustrate us, and they're going to try and hit us on the break, and they're going to try and play on the old hand and voodoo and all that kind of stuff. And you know that'll start going through fans and players' minds if it's 0-0 with 60 minutes gone, that Christ, we're going to be getting beat here again, you know. Celtic, I mean, we hope we clinch the league on Saturday, but, you know, we really need to send out a statement in that game against Dundee United, because the season just goes flat if you lose that game. You know, it's as simple as that. I mean, it shouldn't, because you've won the league, but the reality is, for me supporters, it will.
Well, it's the only meaningful game we've got left of the season. Well, hopefully we've got two meaningful games left in the season. But your semi-final and final, and do we think Lenny? I mean, he's not going to be under any pressure for Peter Law and the board, because he's over-delivered for them. But is he going to be under a bit of pressure with the support if he doesn't deliver the double this year?
Probably, I would say.
Do you think so, Paul?
Aye, because the critics that I know of Neil Lennon say the same thing to me all the time. We should be winning every trophy. Why are we not? No opposition, blah blah blah, and all the rest of it, and that'll just be another thing they'll just say, right, there's another one we've just threw away.
But I think we all know it's not realistic.
No, of course it's not. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, I say it all the time, is like Neil Lennon has gone through a hell of a lot to be the Celtic manager, and it's been quickly forgotten just how much he's went through. And we've seen the day with this ridiculous charge, the kind of things that he has to go through, that any other manager in Scotland has to go through, and that. And we also forget that he is still a young manager. Yeah. He's still learning the game. And I mean, I personally would expect, if Neil Lennon's here next season and Macy plays there next season, for us to absolutely run riot with the league, because we've been through this crap and seen how it had to adjust to it this season. I would expect us to run riot next season.
Well, see, that's, and without getting too far ahead of ourselves next season, but I think that's where Neil Lennon will be judged. It'll be starting next season. That sounds obvious to say, but what I mean by that is, I think regardless of how the rest of the games pan out, whether we win the Scottish Cup or not, I think when it gets to the end of the season, you forget about the few games that you were really disappointed in the players and stuff like that, and you'll look back at the highlights of the season and you'll say that was pretty good. Like, you'll say that was a pretty good season in hindsight, sort of thing. But if it was to go kind of slow at the start of next season, especially the European qualifiers and that, suddenly people would then bring up the end of the season. Well, this is how they played at the end of the season. It's not getting any better at the start of the season, and that's where he would come under pressure, I think, more than at the end of the season. Do you know what I mean by that?
that's the kind of opposite of the effect in the Champions League. It's brilliant getting in it, and it's brilliant doing well in it and qualifying. But everybody, most supporters next season will say, right, okay, we need to do that again now. Forgetting just how hard that actually is today,
Aye. And on the pressure we were under, I mean, everything went in our favour, sort of thing. And it was really hard today, and we've got an extra game next year.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 games to win. But I mean, it's been a great season for me. I've loved it. I've enjoyed it. The Champions League especially, and there's been some highlights of the league season. It's not been. I'm probably suffering for a bit of complacency, just like the rest of the Celtic support, And we're that far in front of everybody else when it boils down to it. We're moaning and we're still winning by a country mile. But
Jason, you can understand the people who were at Love Street and they're seeing these guys and they're looking at them and they're thinking they're not trying, and I've paid all this money to be here. And that is basically what I think our biggest gripe is at the minute. And I didn't want this podcast to sound like, because that's what people will be saying, my God, with Europe winning the league, blah, 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 what's all the negativity? I'm not saying it's maybe sounds a wee bit over the top, but we can only talk about stuff that's happening at the minute. And that's what people are saying, that's what the man in the street is saying, that's what, like, so the games are on the television, right? And I hate it when we play like that, because when I go into my work and it's all the Liverpool fans, the Man United fans, and all they do is sneer. And it's not that it bothers me what they say, but I'd rather be proud of my team, if you know what I mean. And of course I'm proud of Celtic, but I want to go in there and say, did you see Celtic's performance? If you know what I mean. I want to go in and show off, basically. And I very rarely get a chance to do that. Just, boys, we've been joined by a caller, Brendan Tehan. Are you there, Brendan?
Yeah, how you doing? I'll be alright.
I'm not too bad, man. How are you?
You alright, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, Jason, Paul.
Right.
Yeah,
Brendan, what were you wanting to add, man?
Well, obviously, I've heard the start of the show. I mean, I think since European games finished, that a lot of players have lost interest. We're that far ahead in the league. There was no competition as such. Just taking the foot off the gas.
I would agree with you, mate. And I think it's a human trait, and it's probably, if we were in their position, you might be the same. It's easy for us to sit and judge, but I think it's just a fact of life that if you're not under any pressure and you can afford to be like 50% committed and still get the results you require, you're probably going to do it, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think over a season with the squad that Celtic have got, they're always going to win more games than anybody else in that league. But I think some players know that. There's obviously 2 or 3 that are going to go in the summer. I think that's that spreads around the team on occasions. And that's what you're seeing at Celtic. The quicker we get this league won, the better. We need to get to the cup final. Because we don't get to the cup final, although it's been a fantastic year in Europe, we need to be doing the double this year.
Yeah. I agree with you, Brendan. I think we do need to be winning the double, because we've got the best players in Scotland, and they've got far more talent than everybody else, and if they showed the right determination, they should be winning the double. But as you say, it's kind of like people are judging it on, if we were to lose to United, they say, well, they're not even in the top 6 and we're losing to them, and so on and so forth. And we need to put the gloss on this 125th year, We need to go out in style, and we need to get the club going again, That's what it's all about at the end of the day. It's like, you want to win the league, you want to win the cup. We all remember our great days at Hampden in the sun and all that kind of thing. And that's what we should be striving for. That's what the players should be striving for. And if they're going out thinking that, we need to produce 50% here, shut them out. Get rid of them and get guys that would die for that club to come in and pull a jersey on. Because the minute they pull that jersey on, that should mean 100% right away.
So I
Do you
think
think they'll feel problems like with the fans, with the Green Brigade, with the PLC, etc.? Do you think that's having an effect behind the scenes?
no.
Maybe for a couple of people at the club, but knowing the players.
None of the players,
I
no.
think you probably ask any player right now, we never know what you're talking about, to be honest.
I would agree. I would think they've not even any idea any of this is going on.
It's it. Well, I think maybe some of the Scottish players, but definitely a lot of the foreigners wouldn't be bothering about
Maybe
it.
Charlie Mulgrew and Stokes, that'd be about it.
Pardon me, coach, surely.
Yeah, but I'm thinking obviously Lenny's on Twitter, isn't he, Lenny?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously he gets a lot of tweets from the Celtic fans. A lot of the discontent, that's going on at the moment. He's got to be speaking behind the scenes, surely, to the players, for godness.
But I don't. Nah, I personally, I don't think that.
Now to me, I bet he probably doesn't even read half the tweets. Well, more than half, but 95% of the tweets that he gets, he'll probably lucky to read them. I would reckon.
I just don't.
Him a disservice.
I just don't think anyway that that's something that the manager would bring into the dressing room under any circumstances. Like, I mean, why? I mean, if it was going to be a tiny bit of distraction, the manager's going to shield the players for it. If anything, like.
It's got absolutely nothing to do with the players.
No, I can't see that being a effect. But I think, to be honest, and as much as I love Neil Lennon, I do love Neil Lennon, and I'm not. This isn't in any way saying that because I want Neil Lennon to be the manager for as long as he can be the manager and as long as he can be successful. But I think at the minute the buck stops with him, because I do think there's players being picked every week who are not deserving of a starting place in that team. And basically, the buck's got to stop with the manager there for me. Like,
aye, but I'm still fully behind Neil Lennon as being a manager.
Definitely, 100%.
We're all just sitting here talking about certain things that we're not too happy about the newest fans. But there is no way I want anything else than Neil Lennon to be the Celtic manager. I want him to grow and improve as a Celtic manager,
100%.
as I'm sure he does himself.
Yep.
And I'm sure he will. But at the end of the day, he's still a young manager, very young in the essence of the managerial fraternity throughout the world. He's very still inexperienced. He's about 2 seasons in Europe.
Why do you think? Just can I just ask you then, the 3 years? What you each think? Why do you think? I mean, what? Obviously, we're only second guessing here, right? But try and put yourself in Neil Lennon's head if you want, right? Why do you think he's picking these guys who are underachieving every week and not putting replacements in? The likes of Wanyama, for instance, Gary Hooper.
Because he knows they're better than the rest of the players, and they're his best players, and he's expecting them to play better than anybody else that he'd put in to replace them. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think he'll put other players in until the league's actually won. Once the league's won, done and dusted, then you'll probably see 2 or 3 of the, like McGee or Watt, play them on a more regular basis there to the season.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think he trusts the young players yet enough to sort of just put them in. And I think at the end of the day, every manager who signs players, will give them more leeway than perhaps other ones that he hasn't signed. It's a kind of fact in football management that can try and justify it. And he probably thinks that they can play their way out of it, and he probably thinks it would be a bigger issue if they dropped them and then we go beat. And everybody would be screaming about why did you drop Cooper, why did you drop Wanyama, and so on and so forth.
So,
I think he's sticking to his tried and tested.
So the other side of that coin is then you could say certain players are really letting the manager down, given the fact that he's been loyal to them.
Well, see, the thing for me, Harper, is like what you were saying about Neil Lennon is wanting him to be the manager is. I don't think any Celtic supporter on the planet for 1 second doesn't think that Neil Lennon is feeling exactly the way we are.
Oh, yeah.
Or, and he's in there demanding the best out of these players and telling them the standards that are expected on that, which then it either completely puts all the blame on the players or just makes it even more baffling that they're not performing.
Mm-hmm.
I've got no doubt. He's feeling he is one of us anyway. He's a supporter, but he's obviously got a hell of a lot of personal pride as well. And it must be hurting him when he's putting his trust in guys and they aren't producing for him on the park. And I've got no doubt that he's reading the riot act to them. But what do you do? I just think a lot of football players are far too rich, and it doesn't really matter to them. They still get their wages. They're not on performance-related pay. They are multi-millionaires, a lot of them, and does it really matter to them? I don't know. I'm just pretty sceptical with that kind of stuff.
Well, if you kick on to the semi-final, if you picked a side with that Hooper, with that Wanyama, with that Kayal, with that Ambrose, there'd be a lot of Celtic fans scratching their head, wouldn't they? So I think that tells the story itself.
Yeah.
You obviously trust these players to get a result, don't they?
See, I think you're right, Brendan. I think that if all these players play in the semi-final and they didn't perform, they'll get the blame for it. If he drops them all and we didn't go through, Neil Lennon will get the blame for it.
Correct.
So what do we reckon? Who's going to leave and who's going to stay coming into next season? So who do we reckon will be out the door?
Jason, just to say that you've got a message to say Jeanette's running about 15 minutes later.
Aye, sorry, she just texted us.
So
about
about 8,
About
Jeanette will join us.
Aye. She's at a meeting for the stewards for the demonstration on Saturday. So I think they're just getting everything together there. I think the Celtic Trust been doing a lot of, the full FAC, Fans Against Criminalisation, have done a hell of a lot of work leading up to this. And I'm sure that, I think it was the Celtic Trust were outside one of the police stations the other day. Was it yesterday? I seen their tweets. Outside Pitt Street, protesting. And they're doing a hell of it. And they printed a lot of stuff the day. Jeanette will obviously get into more detail. I don't want to steal her thunder. They printed a lot of stuff out the day about fans to be aware of their rights and stuff like that. And Saturday, and always, if the police start harassing them, what you need to do and what you don't need to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's a. I mean, I again don't know what to say, but I think it's a very shrewd move having a look at the stewards there, because the stewards in effect should be the security, and that's what should allow the police to just step back and have no need to, involve themselves whatsoever. So obviously she'll go in there.
Aye.
There was just actually one email I wanted to read out, right? And I'm going to do it now, because if I don't do it now, I shall probably forget, and I just need to find it. It's from Mincy Heed himself. Just bear with me a minute, because once Jeanette comes on, I'll probably get lost. Do you know what I mean?
The email's for who?
Mincy Heed. Pat for Half the World Away. Right.
Oh, right.
His handle on his email is Mincy Heed. I have no idea. Right. Somebody will have to ask him what that means, right? But he sent an email anyway saying, Half the World Away podcast this Friday. It'll be at 11 a.m. Celtic Park time, because they've moved it plus an hour for the clocks changing, right? And this Friday morning they're going to have Jim Blythe on for the Celtic Grave Society. And we all love Jim. I mean, he's a great talker. He comes on, he's so passionate, and it's a great listen. You could listen to Jim for hours, like, you know what I mean? So they've got Jim Blythe coming on Friday morning for the Celtic Grave Society to talk about the ceremony that's going to be happening in America on Saturday in New Jersey to commemorate Celtic player Charlie Shaw. So that's going to be in New Jersey. If anybody is in America wants to pop along, Saturday 6th April. I'm just trying to see the time. There isn't actually a time on it. A blessing will be given at Charlie's resting place. All Celtic supporters are welcome to attend. Flowers may be left at the graveside. That's in the Madonna Cemetery, 2070 Hopefully's Lane, Fort Lee, New Jersey. I still can't see a time. You'll have to tune in to Half the World Away on Friday morning to find out the exact time that is. But anyway, 11 o'clock Friday morning, that'll be Half the World Away. Jim Blythe got to be on with Pat and Kev, and that'll no doubt be an absolutely brilliant listen. So if you can't tune in live, you're at your work or whatever, you'll get the podcast later that day to download and tune in. And actually, Pat was telling me Jim's going to start doing a regular thing with him once a fortnight, looking at past players and things for history and that. So that'll be absolutely fantastic.
Excellent.
They've kind of got that one for under our noses, have they not? We could have had that. Oh, well.
I think Big Chaz Duffy's going to be speaking at the event on Saturday in Port Lee, so that should be good as well.
We want people to go, Paul. I don't want to put them off.
Big Frankie and that's going as well. I'm sure my mate Marty and Big Thomas McHugh in the lobby there. I think there's a load going for all the 5 clubs in about the area.
I'm just reading here. Charlie Shaw was one of those rare examples of a goalkeeper who was so highly thought of that he was made captain of the team. And that team is Celtic's an exceptional honour. In 1913, Charlie went 1,287 minutes without conceding in the league or cup. Charlie was adored by the fan. Get it back to Charlie was a common call at Celtic Park. The supporters also saw a kindred spirit. Vocal in his criticism of low wages and poor conditions, he eventually departed for the growing US Soccer Leagues in 1925 when he joined New Bedford Whalers as player manager. So that's just to be brief background of Charlie Shaw. So that's happening on Saturday anyway, New Jersey. I just can't find the time for loving the money here on it. Aye, so Jason, sorry to cut on you there. You were saying?
No, that's fine. No, I'm just talking about the players this season. Who do we think will be away in the summer?
Oh, sorry, 2 p.m. Sorry, Charles Duffy's in the chat room there. 2 p.m. on Saturday. There you go. So anybody's in that. 2
p.m. on the Saturday.
Anybody's in the area, get along there, and I've no doubt. I don't know if Chaz can maybe put in the chat room, there maybe be some kind of entertainment on after it. I say maybe back at the Celtic house.
Is he Skype broke?
Who, Charlie Shaw?
Chaz's?
Chaz Duffy.
Right.
I don't know how.
Well, I could phone in and tell us. You big clown.
Chaz, if you're there, man, you've got 9 minutes if you want to Skype in and tell us what's happening.
There you go. Right, back to my question. Brendan, you go first. Who's leaving?
Obviously, Big Victor, he'll go home to Victor.
Yep.
Hooper obviously could have gone in January, but I noticed that Norwich have lined up a centre forward in the summer. Is it a Dutch lad? Not quite sure who it is. So I don't know who'll come in for Hooper now, to be honest. He might have to see his year out. I can't see Fraser going. I think we'll get another year out of him. But I think Wanyama's a definite question mark for Hooper. And then obviously any of the fringe players you want to move on, take your pick.
What about Ledley? Ledley's...
No.
He's getting into his final year as well, is he not?
I thought it more. Has he only got a year left, has he?
I think did Law not say a while back that he wouldn't let any player get her? Somebody mentioned that they wouldn't let any player get into the final year of their contract.
There's no way.
So Hooper and Ledley, they'll be hawked if they're not signing a new deal, I would think.
I think Ledley will probably sign a deal. Because I think he loves it at Celtic. Maybe you see him talking, interviewing. I think he's more committed to Celtic than say that Hooper is. I think if Hooper gets a chance, he'll go. But I can see Ledley sign another 3-year deal.
I'm sure.
He's only got a year left.
I'm sure.
City get into the Premiership, it looks likely. Say they want. If Cardiff City get into the Premiership, which looks likely, and they want him back.
But I think that's just guessing, obviously. I think Joe Ledley loves it at Celtic, as Brendan says.
I do as well.
And I think he loves the big European nights and sort of stuff like that. And I can see. Did Ledley know? Has Ledley know what he was saying recently? Has he not said recently that he'd be happy to stay at Celtic the rest of his career? I mean, I know that's only words that players can say things, but I could see Ledley there for years, future captain if you like. Even Scott Brown doesn't come back, maybe breaks down again. I don't know, but you could see Joe Ledley being the future captain of Celtic.
Oh, definitely. The thing is, Harper, if the PLC back Lenny for the next 4 or 5 years, we in theory should get regular Champions League football. So why would they want to replace that with a possible one season in the Premiership with Cardiff?
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%. Like, I didn't understand.
I think Lenny's more long term than Hooper. Hooper will go if he gets a chance. But like I said, with PLC, if they back Lenny right, he can bring the right players in. I know there's 3 qualifiers, but there's no reason why we shouldn't be in the Champions League stages for the next 4 or 5 years if we play it right, as far as the club's concerned.
We've said it before. We didn't really understand why any player would want to go and leave Celtic to play for middle of the road Premiership teams in the bottom half of the Premiership, obviously apart from money.
That's a bigger part.
And it is a big part, but you do get some...
Yeah, but if Celtic are qualifying for your European Cup stages, then they can afford to give Ledley a decent wage, comparable to what a Cardiff could give him or a Wigan could give him.
But they'll not give them, wait a minute, but they'll not give the players that, and they'll already be on their contract. But the thing is, you do get players come along who are happy with the massive amount of money they are getting at Celtic, and they love it that much. Well, Samaras is a case in point. Samaras could have been away for bigger money. If you look at, I know it's easy to hark back to Henrik Larsson. He could have made 10 times the money in his career if he'd left Celtic. So you do get players who they're on a good wage and they're happy with that good wage, and they're settled, their families are settled and stuff like that. And I don't know, I've probably led his wife on Twitter tweets away. She seems quite happy as well. Like, so I don't know.
I'm going to leave Celtic and go to bigger and better things. There's not many, is there?
There's very few.
Do you think it's the family men who seem to be maybe more settled at clubs and stay for longer, and it's these young single guys that will just go chasing the limelight and the money and that?
Potentially, if you've got young kids and they're starting school and things like that, and you're happy with your lot. But I think getting back to Brendan's point there, that's what I was sort of getting at earlier on. See, when I was on about wages, like performance-based wages, Celtic should offer enhanced packages if they're in the Champions League. I don't know if they do. Possibly they do, but there should be a big hike in players' wages if they qualify for the Champions League, and that should be set out in their contract when they sign. you know, and obviously if we don't qualify in it, then you don't earn anywhere near as much.
Do you not think you would imagine any agent half decent would have had that written in his for bonuses for his player? Like, would you not think?
No, but I would say for Celtic, you should be like reducing their basic wage.
All right.
So that if they don't get in it, they're earning a hell of a lot less. But if they do get in it, they're earning a fortune.
That's the carrot. It's hard. It's just the thing in these day and age with agents and that. I mean, you know, yourselves try to get players to come to Scotland. It's hard enough in the first place. I'm not sure that would be something a lot of players would go for.
Well, but I'm talking about no paying them good. Still comparable. You're still paying them a fortune.
We're not talking about minimum wage here.
You know, and it's where a lot of them are coming from as well. They'll still be earning a hell of a lot more. I mean, there are guys like Effie Ambrose. I mean, he's playing middle of the league football in Israel. I mean, I wonder what the difference in price hike would be when he signed for us compared to the team that he came from in Israel. What do you reckon, Paul? You get any insight into the kind of wage he would be earning?
You know, here's a sentence I thought I'd never say, but if I'm Peter Lawwell, there's no way if he's coming for $3,000 that I'm going to give him 12 or 15. You know, it's just not going to happen.
Right.
I mean, I think, you know, it depends on. I don't think players are going to come to Celtic on the basis say, well, we'll give you $7,000 a week, but if they're in the Champions League, you'll buy 15, because then the agents are just going to be like, well, no, we'll get them 12 elsewhere, and so on and so forth. I know that Brendan was saying about Ledley and that, because there seems to be talk about Cardiff want to buy him back, he's in the Premiership and all that kind of thing, and you kind of think, oh God, we're going to get one of these. Well, Cardiff would be the only club I'd leave Celtic for and all this sort of stuff. But, you know, our wage bill was still pretty big. I think it's still in the £30 million region. And I just don't think, and I would love for it to happen, but as what Brendan was saying, I just do not think our board are going to sit down in the summer and go, right, let's bring in some bigger players and, you know, go for this Champions League and all that. I think they're going to do the exact opposite and say, we've made challenge in the league, we didn't even spend $20,000 a week on a player, so let's see what we can cut our costs accordingly.
And they'll say, look at last year in the Champions League, we managed to do it with X, Y, and Z. Surely we'll be able to do that again. Or certainly, I think we'll take the risk on that. I mean, I can't see Neil Lennon being handed $10 million in the summer, which I think some people seem to think is going to happen.
Yeah, but Harper, if you take out Wanyama, Hooper, Ledley, Fraser, to replace them to qualify for the Champions League and do well in the Champions League, you can't buy run-of-the-mill players that you could buy just to win the Scottish League.
But wait a minute, the Brendan, they were run-of-the-mill players when we brought them in. I think that's what Paul's saying. We will go back. We will stay with that model, which has worked so far, and we will bring in players, fling 10 of them at the wall, and hope 7 of them stick.
But so let me see.
Yeah, but I think the raw materials were there, Harper. The raw materials of good players were there, weren't they?
Aye, but I mean that's what. See the 4 players you mentioned, right? See how much did it cost to bring them in, right? I think, and I'd trust your man Pat to go out and find replacements for these guys at the same money, probably what we paid. Say we paid $4 million for those 4, which I don't even think we would have paid as much as that.
Paid more than that.
Did
we
we?
get Ledley free. Sorry, you get Ledley free. But Fraser Foster, that was a few $2.5 million or whatever.
Right.
I think Wanyama was about just under $1 million.
Right.
What other one did you?
Hooper
was 2.5. Aye.
So $5 million you're saying there, right?
But you're getting Ledley would have been 2.5 as well if he wasn't out of contract.
But what I'm saying is this is our model, right? We will go out and that'll be the kind of money we'll look to spend again.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if the 4 players that Brendan mentioned, say we get 20 million in for them, would that be unreasonable to expect Celtic to pay 10 million for 4 players?
It wouldn't be unreasonable to spend the 20 million in my opinion. But I just don't see it happening. I think it's been made very clear to the fans that we will buy players in, sell them at the profit, and they're going to turn around and say, well, you want us to bring players in, but there's only 35,000 turning up at Celtic Park.
But
we need to offset that. We need to offset those ticket sales and stuff like that.
But wait a minute, that's not a sustainable business model. Hawking folk for 20 million and no spending anything in return. Your Portuguese model, which they buy loads of Brazilians and stuff like that, and they sell them for fortunes. They're still going out and spending 4 and 5 million on players.
But Jason, we've not done it. That's not what we're doing in the last 3 years.
Yeah, but when have we sold a clutch of players for 20 million? You know we haven't.
No,
So,
we haven't.
this is the next stage.
Well, to be honest, well, wait a minute. For a start, I don't think.
That was my point.
Wait a minute.
It's got to be a next stage, isn't there?
Wait a minute. We're not going to sell those 4 players. Wait. Put the reins on the horses a minute, right? We're not going to sell those 4 players for a start. I can only see 2 of them leaving the club. Wanyama and Hooper.
I can see Big Forster going.
Can you?
Aye, I think an English team will come in for him.
I think it'd have to be a big team because I think he sees himself.
I think a big team will come in for him.
I think he sees himself as England's number 1 in a couple of years, and I think he would maybe hang on for a season, have another good season at Celtic, and get a Man United or something like that. I don't know if they would quite take a chance on him yet.
I could see a Chelsea, an Arsenal, a Man
City.
City.
Could you? To bring him in as number 1?
Aye.
Could you, I don't know about that. I didn't know nothing about English football, to be honest, so I'm just... I didn't know nothing.
Also, in 2010, we sold McManus, Colwell, Robson, Scott McDonald, McGeady. We got the boys about 16 million for them, and we didn't spend anywhere near that to replace them.
Is that right?
When you think of it, we see McGeady and McDonald alone, there's 13.5 million quid we got for 2 players.
I suppose so, but you think about we get the Ledley deal, right? So Ledley, okay, we never put money up front for him, but with the full package, that would have been a few quid.
One of the top earners without a doubt.
So Ledley would have been a few quid. So I think getting Hooper and stuff like that, we sort of did, Paul. Really, we started spent about 7-8 million.
Aye, I mean we did. We always swear. Aye, we did. But I mean, we kept selling. I mean, it was kind of funny because I think how the budget works at Celtic is that you get a set amount of money, which is about 3 million quid, and then after that you get player sales up to a point, and it kind of fractured with Tony Mowbray, because Tony Mowbray, that's why Tony Mowbray sold all the players, because he go tell 3 million and there'll be more, and he spunked the whole budget on Marc-Antoine Fortuny, and then it was like, I need more money. He said, well, there isn't any, and then so he just basically sold the whole team, to get some, by which time, and then we waited about 35 players on the last day of the transfer window.
Right, okay.
But remember they missed him with, like, there's Moosin, I think was paid 2 million for him. Robbie Keane was obviously a loan deal. Demansi Camera was a loan deal, stuff like that. But it's hard to say that. I would absolutely love it. You know what I mean? Because as fans in the summer, that's what we want. It's big signings and excitement and all that thing. I mean, I still think it's incredible that if you think back to 1996, we spent £3.5 million on Alan Stubbs, who was the most sought after defender in British football.
Aye, I know. They days are long gone. Aye. Yep. By the way, Jeanette texts us here. A couple of minutes, she'll be signing in. So
another 2 minutes, she'll be signing in. I'll just be telling her she's unwelcome.
I'm going to start off now, boys.
Right, Brendan.
All right, Brendan. All the best, mate.
Paul, good luck on Saturday, mate.
Thank you, mate.
With the book launch. I would have been up there, but I'm at a wedding at Harrogate and I can't get out of it. But if my ticket gets pulled out, put it back in on the raffle.
But by the way, Brendan, unless it's your own wedding, that's the excuse.
I'm definitely going. Next time you have a book launch, mate, I'll definitely go up there.
Oh, that'll be in about May.
I got in there just before half. Cheers, man. All the best.
Cheers, man. Paul, just while we're killing time then, waiting on Jeanette, tell us a wee bit about the book launch on Saturday.
Aye, I mean, everything's all set. Usual story. I mean, I was kind of panicking a wee bit because I was convinced Celtic were going to change the game, or the time of the game or whatever. But that doesn't seem to be happening. So, we're on again in the Celtic Supporters Association. We have a 6 o'clock start. We disco, we boogie before it, we change, and then we'll be on to whatever that is, our date and book launches, and then we'll have the Parrots going to be MCing, so that should be quite a turn. And the Quadrophenians are also going to be playing, and obviously with some of their songs, I think it's pretty apt to the times now. And everything's set, and we're ready to go.
And you done a big interview with Graham Beyond the Waves the weekend, all about the book and everything. So anybody wants to get like a full sort of, I've not had a chance to listen yet. By all accounts, it's about 3 hours. Is it? So anybody wants to get in there, have a listen to that podcast, and you'll get the full. In fact, you maybe get to hear in 3 hours. You must get to hear about the whole book.
Well, actually, you think that, but it was actually because the first 2.5 hours was Graham ranting about the Polis and the PLC.
Well, there you go. So anyway, you can check out that podcast on Hail Media.
You coming through on Saturday, Paul, for the demo?
Oh yeah, of course, aye.
Aye. I'll give you a wee phone in the morning.
Oh yeah.
Right. It's many jink will turn up, because I know, according to some of the forums and that, there's at least 30 to 40 Celtic supporters buses have confirmed that they'll be dropping all their members off. Mm-hmm. So that's what that's over 1,000 anyway. And then you've got everybody for the Glasgow area, everybody travelling in trains, buses, like local buses and stuff like that. So I think there'll be absolutely thousands there. Only one thing for me is a lot of the Irish buses don't arrive to Celtic Park till about 12:30. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of them, because of the boat times and things like that, they might not be able to make it, but hopefully they will.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think you're right. I think they'll be touching 5 figures there on Saturday, but of course the polls will probably tell us about 250. But I think it's great. I mean, I think it's one of the things that it just shows people can talk about marches and all that kind of thing, but if Celtic supporters actually care about what's happening and all that, then they'll be there. And Celtic supporters do care about it, so I think anybody that can be there will be there.
Yeah, and I think it's a great example of uniting the Celtic supporters. With the 5 different bodies that make up Fans Against Criminalisation, like the Supporters Association, the Affiliation, the Celtic Trust, the Green Brigade, and the Irish Celtic Supporters Association. So all these different supporters groups all come together under the one umbrella, and that is what it's all about. Because at the end of the day, forget the umbrella, we're all just Celtic supporters.
Mm. I think you're right. I think that's exactly what it has to be. It's just that you have to go to remind folk that we are all Celtic supporters. That is the banner we're under, Celtic, and...
Sorry, Jason, Jeanette's logged in a couple of minutes ago. Do you just want to text and see if she's waiting for me to add her, or if...
Oh, you go and add her then, just add her.
Well, maybe she's just getting ready or something. Like, I didn't know what to just add her and she wasn't ready, like, you know what I mean? So I'll try it anyway.
Aye.
Add people.
You turned into a shrinking violet or something.
Do you know what, man? I feel like I'm not really... I feel like I've got to watch what I'm doing now. I feel like I'm kind of part-time on this show, like... Oh, see, there you go. That's her. Jeanette!
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing absolutely fine. We've just been killing...
I'm going to have to put it up. Just give me a second. Hello?
Hello, can you hear us all right?
Right, that's not working either. Sorry. Do you want me to call off and call back again once I fix the sound?
Aye, try that, Jeanette. I'll try. Can you hear me at all? She can't hear us. Hang up. That was a bit of an anticlimax.
Are you going to have to call her?
I've got to try and add her now. Add people. Jeanette. Add.
I hope she's got earphones in. Maybe she didn't have earphones in.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, I can hear you now.
Is that you just put the headphones on, aye?
Nightmare.
Did you get earphones on, Jeanette?
No, I haven't.
No. Well, if you can hear us all right, that's fine. But sometimes you just stick a pair of like iPhone earphones in. Sometimes that's better. You can hear it better. But if you can hear us fine, carry on.
No, I can hear you fine.
Oh, that's great. We've just been killing time, basically, Jeanette. We've been talking absolute rubbish, just waiting for you to get here. So you're on with myself, David Harper, Jason Higgins, who you were speaking to earlier, and the green and white lighter, Paul Larkin.
Hiya.
Jason, you want to take the lead on this?
Aye, well, I was talking to you, Jeanette, and basically the point of getting you on here was just so you can give us a wee brief update of what's happening on Saturday and your work with Fans Against Criminalisation. And it's just obviously how you've united between the 5 different bodies, the Affiliation, the Association, Celtic Trust, which you're heavily involved in, the Irish supporters and the Green Brigade. However, these come under the one banner, uniting the Celtic support, and then on Saturday at 12 o'clock at George Square, this is when we'll voice our disgust at this terrible bill and this terrible legislation that's been sort of forced on Celtic fans and trying to criminalise Celtic fans. So if you want to just take it away, explain to us sort of the work you do behind the scenes and what kind of plannings went into it, then you can give us a wee bit about your Pitt Street escapade yesterday.
All right.
And I seen there was a wee thing for the Celtic Trust on the internet today as well about a fan at St Mirren Park on Saturday.
Yeah.
But take it away, Jeanette. You're no shy at coming forward, and I know you can take the floor, no bother. But anyway, we're going to get another couple on for the Fans Against Criminalisation. He says there's no point if you're coming on because you can do all the talking for everybody.
Is that right? Is that what they say, Dad?
That's what they say.
Well, the only thing I would say is, if you hear a funny sound, that might be the dog drinking, or it might be one of my veins coming in and out. So you'll just need to live with that because I'm in the kitchen. Okay, in terms of Fans Against Criminalisation group, I mean, that is a group that's been in place now for, almost 2 years. So in terms of the unity of the groups, that has been in place for some time. And I know people, I don't want to go on about this, but people go on about, disunity and so on. But in actual fact, the way I find that, when there is something that needs to be done, Celtic fans come together very well, and the groups come together very well. I mean, if you look at the Walford statue and you look at the FACT group, I mean, these were sort of things that happened, that people came together. And there'll be lots of other examples of that. When we need to come together, we do. And in fact, there's lots of cross-membership groups as well, you need to remember.
Yep.
Because as well as being one of the trustees, I'm no longer the chair, but one of the trustees in the Celtic Trust, I'm also the registrar of the Celtic Supporters Association and have been a member of the association for a very long time. And, there's lots of people who are in the trust and in, say, the Green Brigade, or they're in the trust and they're in the association, or they're in, so there is a bit of cross-membership there. And I don't think, for the traditional organisations, if I can call them that, the people who actually meet, as opposed to sort of be online, that has been going on for a long time, and that's nothing new. And sometimes, there are things that we don't get on about, but we sort it out.
That's socialism for you.
That's the way it works. See, I'm an old-fashioned kind of a gal in that way. I like to sit in a room and meet with people and know who I'm talking to. Anyway, so leaving that, so the FACT group has been in place. We initially came together to oppose the introduction of the bill, and of course, we were only successful in doing that because nobody ever was going to be successful in doing that. The SNP government were very clear that that's what was going to happen, and very embarrassingly for them, they had to use their 8-vote majority to force it through. It was quite humiliating for them, but anyway, they did that. Since then, our role has been, what we said we would do after that is to monitor anybody affected by that bill, to collect data, because what the opposition did manage to get built in was that there'd be a review period. Once the bill had been in operation, there'd be a review there, and we wanted to be prepared to come in at that point and say, this is how this bill has operated. These are the things that we said would happen. This is what's happened. Get this bill repealed. It's terrible. So we wanted to be in a position to do that. We also wanted to be in a position to help people who were caught up in it. It's quite funny, isn't it? Because you go to a game, you're in amongst a big crowd, you're singing along, you're doing what you're doing. It's a kind of community activity. But when you get arrested and charged with something, that can be quite a lonely experience.
Yeah.
So I think people that we have spoken to, and sometimes the parents of people that we've spoken to, because quite often they're quite young,
Aye.
appreciate having somebody who's going to offer them a wee bit of support, in as much and directing particular solicitors if they're very good. We also set up a legal defence fund, which in its first month really drew in a fair bit of donations, and we said to people, if we can help you, probably know enough there to pay, a lawyer's bill. Happily, most people who've been involved actually are entitled to legal aid. Of course, that wouldn't be the case next year since the legal aid budget has now been completely cut. But anyway, that's a whole other business. But most of the people have been eligible for legal aid, so it means we haven't had to draw on it. But of course, there are people who may not be eligible for legal aid, but they're having to take days off work, or they're having to expenses, because often they're travelling 3, 4, 5 times to somewhere quite far away.
Yep.
So we offered that as well. So that is what we kind of set out to do, is to monitor how that was going to operate and to offer assistance where we can to keep records there. As it's gone along, we've gone a bit further than that, either as FAC or individually as our constituent groups, in having meetings at various points with either Celtic or with various police officers, basically trying to make things a bit better and trying to protect people as much as we can. We've also spent a lot of time, the Trust certainly has spent a lot of time representing individual supporters who have had their membership rights suspended for periods of time, and we've tried to say, to act for them where they've needed some representative, almost like a sort of trade union role. So we've done that for quite a few people. Obviously that goes a bit under the radar because that's all individual stuff and people don't really know about that. That brings us up to, so that's what we were doing, getting in preparation. Now, FAC started to talk about, we haven't really been meeting regularly, so it was all done by email, but we started to talk about, a little bit in November, we started to talk about getting together and preparing, because we understood that the review period would be at the end of this season. We've now been given to understand that it won't be, but I think we could probably, once we get the next lot of events over, I think we need to look to a campaign to put pressure on the Justice Committee to get this bill reviewed earlier. But that's something that we need to discuss later. So anyway, that brings us up to the events of a few weeks ago. And I had actually been going to a Celtic Trust meeting to discuss the meetings that we had had with Celtic and to discuss, what was happening around police activity around games. And I was on my way there when, I got a phone call to say, everything was kicking off at the bottom of the Gallagher. Obviously what happened there is now well known to everybody. It was an absolute scandal, a disgrace, a complete assault on largely young people.
Yep.
Albeit it was an unlawful demonstration. The police don't normally police unlawful demonstrations in that way. FAC's first rally, which was 18 months ago, we never asked for a demonstration. A demonstration organically happened and the police just conducted it up the road and that was the end of it. So they don't have to behave the way they did 3 weeks ago in the Gallagher. They chose to do that.
Yeah.
And I think everybody, not just Celtic fans, not just football fans, anybody who has any concern for police accountability has to look at what happened that day. So we set a programme of events. We wanted to make sure that we were able to collect all of the witness statements while they were about, and we intend to produce a full documented report which we hope to present to MSPs. We will be calling for an inquiry into what happened, and we will be having this public demonstration obviously on Saturday.
Yep.
And we will be having a demonstration, not a demonstration, but I suppose a demonstration outside Parliament on the 24th of April, where we will be presenting a petition asking for an inquiry. So all of that's ongoing just now, so it's a bit of a busy time, and where I've just come from was a stewards meeting for Saturday, so that's why I was a wee bit late getting here. Apologise for that.
So that's brilliant, Jeanette. Thanks for that. So tell me, see within the group, in the umbrella group, how many active members have you got that are actually actively organising this kind of stuff and taking to do it and taking their own personal time out to invest in this? How many active members have you got between the groups?
Well, initially, sorry, do you mean with total combined membership or the people who are...
The guy, you're
right, okay.
within Fans Against Criminalisation. Yep.
Initially what we did was, it is obviously an umbrella body and it comprises 5 organisations, and initially we kind of had basically 2 or 3 reps from each group to meetings, and those would change over time and sometimes they would be more, but that means people go back to their organisations and say, okay, I've been to a FAC meeting, this is what we've agreed, and then you call on people to do things. So there's a much wider body around that, but in terms of sort of an organising committee, you would probably be talking about maybe a dozen people at most.
A dozen each, okay. So on Saturday, you mentioned stewards there. So how many stewards have you got planned for being present on Saturday?
Well, you don't actually need a large number of stewards for what's a static demonstration.
Okay.
And, we've discussed that with the council, so there'll be probably 20 to 30 stewards for a static demonstration.
Okay. So on Saturday, will we have some speakers? I take it there'll be a few speakers to address the crowd, 3 or 4 speakers or whatever.
Yeah, there will be one of the FAC group will be introducing it, and giving all the speakers and so on, and giving any information that needs to be given out. Michael McMahon, MSP, who's been actually a very good friend to us on numerous occasions, he along with Hugh, facilitating the demonstration at Parliament the day the bill went through. I don't know if you remember that, where we went through, we had a delegation of people there who were inside the Parliament, had a meeting, spoke to the MSPs. We were then prevented from actually seeing the bill being passed because they didn't like our T-shirts. I don't know if you know that then. So he's been a very good friend to us, has a very strong line on this, and he'll be there giving us.
Okay, very good.
So we had hoped to have, there'll be a representative of FAC speaking, and I'm sorry to say that'll be me, and we hoped to have either a QC or a civil liberties person speaking, and that will happen, but I can't say to you right now which one will be.
Okay. So what crowd are you expecting? Have you got any rough estimates of the crowd that you think is going to be there? I mean, I'm going to be there. I wasn't at your previous one. I'll be there. Paul will be there.
Because Jason, you were talking about supporters buses already saying, weren't you?
Yeah, I think there's at least 30 or whatever have committed that they'll be coming along. So, I mean, I fully expect there'll be absolutely thousands of people here on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, the last one we sort of estimated about 1,500 to 2,000. The police said 700. So I don't know whether I'm really bad at counting or
they get the Whites and Kelly involved in the police, the Whites and Kellys.
Anyway, I think we were thinking, more than that. We were thinking 2.5 upwards, but it's impossible to tell. It's impossible, because even when you say, such and such a bus will be there, you don't know how many people to the bus will actually go. People are getting their buses done a bit earlier, parking up at Celtic Park and heading along the square, but it's impossible to tell how many bodies will actually get there. Now, I'm expecting it not to be wet, and that will help. But
I think what will help as well is the chance that Celtic could clinch the league on Saturday, which is going to obviously bring a much bigger crowd to the game. So you would imagine that that's going to boost the crowds, obviously, in George Square as well.
I think so. I mean, in as much as we're able to tell, for what people are telling us and what buses are getting there early and making special arrangements, it really does look as if we're going to get a good few thousand at us, so that'd be great.
See, just on that, Jeanette, like you meant when you were talking and we were saying, like, this isn't just for fans of Celtic, it's not just even for football fans. Has there been much or any contact with anybody from any other supporters groups?
As far as I know, we've been told that there are supporters of, well, they're Hib supporters and other, funnily enough, we played in last time as well, and supporters of some other clubs. I honestly can't remember. I know that there was a tweet out in the fact tweet saying, that we've been contacted by supporters of the other clubs that were going to be there. There have been a couple of events that FAC has organised where supporters of other clubs have turned up. Not huge numbers, but some. We took the position right from the start that while we recognise that it's something that affects every football fan, and we were very happy for people to turn up to our events, we probably couldn't, in terms of the resources involved, we couldn't spend a lot of time trying to make this a bigger thing than a Celtic thing. So while it's completely open and we're very happy for supporters of other clubs to come along, I can't say that we've not made huge efforts to get them along, because there's a dozen of us and there's only many hours in a day, and we've all got jobs and wings, and so.
And I think you can only sort of do your own bit for your own club. There's enough to be doing among the Celtic support, rather than canvassing every team in Scotland. But as you say, anybody that's got any friends at any other club in Scotland, it affects them as well. Yep. Everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome here on Saturday.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
And the Scotland fans of the banner as well. I've seen that on the TV.
Yeah,
that was good. Yep. Yeah. And as I say, any right-minded football supporter in Scotland should be opposed to this piece of nonsense. So do you want to? I seen a wee tweet.
Jason, sorry, if you could just hold that thought. We've been joined by Graham for Beyond the Waves. I know he had a question for Jeanette. I know he said he wouldn't have much time, so I just want to bring him in, Jeanette, and let Graham ask his question. Graham's calling from the good old United States of America. Graham, can you hear us, man?
Yeah, Harper, thanks for having me on, and I appreciate it. Jason, Paul, how you doing? Hi, Jeanette. First off, I want to thank you for what you've done on behalf of Celtic supporters with the Celtic Trust, and what you're continuing to do with Fans Against Criminalization. For the benefit of the listeners, I had an experience when I was just over a couple of months ago, and I had sent an email to the email address that Celtic had provided on their homepage. I did get a response from Ronnie Hawthorne, and Jeanette was kind enough to respond as well on behalf of FAC. And I want to thank you for getting back to me. And just so the listeners know, if you do have a concern or a complaint, please do email, because you are responded to, and you have an advocate who's interested in what happens and who's looking out for your best interests. So, Jeanette, thank you for that. What I wanted to ask you, over the past couple of weeks, there have been some revelations that have come out on the HomeBhoys show from Steve Kearney, who was formerly of the affiliation, and he came out with some testimony of experiences that he had talking to Peter Lawwell, Ronnie Hawthorne, as I previously mentioned, where they had the testimony was that Peter Lawwell and Ronnie Hawthorne had targeted specific members of the Green Brigade, and Steve has come under a lot of we'll say abuse for that, and there are many folks who just find this absolutely unbelievable that certain members of the PLC, of the board, would attack specific fans. Just over a year ago, if you think back to Udinese, obviously there was a lot of flack coming the Green Brigade's way because of the banner, because of the flares, because of what was deemed an inappropriate display by our supporters. One supporter specifically was picked out of that. His name was Ross Connolly. The allegation was that he had held up the banner, that he had attacked a steward, that he had spent a night in an Italian jail, and Peter Lawwell came out, named him, and suggested essentially testified to his guilt, said that he was banned for life. My information was that it was later found out that he actually wasn't guilty of any of that, and Celtic had then done an about-face and had not even alleged that he had any part in that. Can you talk at all about that? I did notice you had an exchange with Paul McConville on the topic on the internet. Am I off base here? Can you expand a little bit on that? If I'm wrong, I just wanted to get that clear.
Okay, the supporter you're talking about is not a member of the trust, and we had no contact with him. We didn't know who he was. But we noticed this, exactly as you say, that the boy was named before he'd even touched back down to Glasgow Airport on his return. And they then did the extremely unusual thing of taking out what's known as an interdict against him in the quarter session. And we were in one of our scheduled meetings with Celtic, and we said to him, why have you done this? This is a very odd thing to do. You know, why have you done this? This boy has been, abused in the press. He's been, and yet we know, his name's all over the place. I said, we're not representing him because we don't know him. He hasn't asked us to represent him. I have since met him. And they were extremely dismissive of that and saying, he did this and he did that. I said, well, you don't know what he did. Have you spoken to him? No, we haven't spoken to him. He can defend himself in the court session. And that's absolute nonsense because, it's beyond the financial resources. Thousands and thousands of pounds. So Ross Conley was never asked to come in. He never gave his side of the story. He was never given any opportunity to defend himself. And he was hit with an interdict which effectively prevented him, and I believe still does, from being within a certain number of yards of the Celtic team anywhere they are. Anywhere. This was an appalling assault on an individual, even if he had done what they said he did. It would not have merited a response like that. It was disgraceful. We made it clear that we thought it was disgraceful. We had quite a difficult meeting with them. In fact, we left a meeting because of it. And we've since raised with them the press reports that they're looking to explore the possibility of being able to do similar things, but in a cheaper way for them from the sheriff court. And we've again said, why would you want to use this process against Celtic fans if they've done something which is wrong enough to merit you being banned from a football ground? Let the criminal justice system take its course and do that. Why would you want to take them to a civil proceedings? Because a civil proceedings is a lower standard of evidence. It's a lower burden of proof. So effectively Celtic would be able to go to a civil court and say, for a much smaller amount of money than they paid for the interdict at quarter session, which is the highest court in the land, they would be able to go and say, we don't like this guy, we would like him not to come near our ground, and not only would we like him not to come near our ground, which we can do anyway because it's our ground, we would like him not to come near us wherever we are. And, I think the way that the law operates, they're very likely to get that agreement. And I think that's indefensible for Celtic PLC to take that attitude towards their own fans.
Well, and I would even, to your point, before any of the charges were confirmed or he was found guilty, to take such action as harsh as it is. And
he wasn't found guilty of anything.
Right, exactly. And eventually the club, just ceased to allege that he had any involvement with the banner or had attacked a steward or anything. So, when you type into Google Ross Connolly Celtic fan, all you see is these allegations of horrible things that were assumed as truth when none of it has been proven, and much of it was thrown out there by the club themselves. And that just it doesn't sit right with me.
It's disgraceful. It's wrong.
Okay, thank you.
And we've said that, and we've continued to say it, and we've continued to have quite a difficult relationship. Probably our relationship with Celtic is as poor as it's been for many a long day, and that's one of the things that we've never been able to get over, that we did that, and it was so unjust and so outrageous the way to treat, a member of your own family.
Well, and with the recent revelations, my first thought went back to that, and much of Ross's story and the development through that last spring was drowned out by the hilarity around the death of Rangers, and rightfully so. But it's I think useful to notice the patterns and connect the dots, because there is a precedent here. And for those who want to sort of assume that there would never be that sort of attitude coming from the board, I think it's useful to take a look at instances like that and put the entire puzzle together before you make your assessment and start abusing people who are just coming forth with testimony of what they saw. So, Jeanette, like I said, thank you so much for everything that you've done. I mean, I think the £10 going towards membership of the Celtic Trust, I think, is a bargain. I'm signing up myself, and please keep up the great work, and thank you.
And please feel free to make a donation beyond that if you like.
He's loaded. So aye.
Oh yeah, thanks. Okay, well I have to get back to work now so I can make all this money. So thanks, Harper, for having me on.
Cheers, Graham.
Cheers.
Can I just ask you, Jeanette, actually, just one thing I was going to say was, obviously the big picture with this is the bill. Personally, or as speaking for the Celtic Trust, what do you think is the actual thinking behind this bill? Why is this bill being introduced?
Funnily enough, we were kind of talking about that again tonight, and obviously we've talked about this over the last couple of years, but we were talking again about, what really is going on? Why was this ever sensible? Now, to be honest, it's like many things in history. I don't think there was one single sort of
in the defining moment.
Somebody just decided this was going to happen, and it was all well thought out and planned. I think there was a number of things that happened at the same time, and I probably have said this before, but it maybe bears rehearsing, which is that you had Alex Salmond, who had very cleverly sort of avoided all of this stuff in the past, but we were just coming up to an election, and you had Jack McConnell having a pop at him in the press and saying, "Oh, you've abandoned the fight against sectarianism. You've left this off," sort of thing. You also then had Stephen House, who was the Chief Constable of Strathclyde Police, but who I think was looking at his squeezed budgets in a period of recession, and B, at positioning himself to be the Chief Constable of what was then being planned to be Police Service of Scotland, which came into being on Monday, and of course he very successfully achieved that. You had a new Lord Advocate, Frank Mulholland, who, I don't know whether he was just grateful for getting the job, but he seems to be the most politicised Lord Advocate there's ever been. He seems to spend his time defending the actions of government, which is absolutely not what Lord Advocate's supposed to do. And you had the press who love this, cheap, lazy journalism about sectarianism. You have a plethora, if I can use that word, of, and I'm not sure that I can, of groups who are, live off the public purse and generate this, it's a bit of an industry, the anti-sectarian industry, and they don't like actually being pressed to define what it is and to speak directly to the statistics, but they like to speak generally about how being a bigot is a very bad thing, which of course it is. So you had all of that coming together, and there just seemed to be, it was a bit mad because of course you had the so-called game of shame, which was really nothing, and then you have them calling, now there was a bit of a dispute because initially it was as though Alex Salmond had called this summit, but I think Stephen House called the summit. I think that's what happened. So the summit happens. During the summit, which of course Celtic turned up to, which we had said, why did you go to that? We don't have a problem with sectarianism. Why are you turning up at things to discuss sectarianism with a football club? We don't have a problem. You should have told them to sort it out. But no, they have to go because they're frightened to get criticised. So they turn up at this. Of course, every picture has Peter Lowell at the front of it, and pictures of the Celtic crowd at the front of it. So we're the people who are involved in this. Then you have this summit discussing domestic violence. So you have this madness, it was almost surreal, with people sitting about saying, oh yeah, no, this is really all about domestic violence. So they start talking about spikes in the data, and they start talking about how there's these spikes in domestic violence around Celtic Rangers games. Of course, the biggest spikes in domestic violence are around Christmas and New Year. And in fact, it's just to do with drink. And the very idea that people who abuse their wives and their children will not do that because there isn't a Celtic Rangers game, it's just ridiculous. So we have all of that. So we have the chief executive of a PLC thinking that he now has a remit to discuss domestic violence, and it kind of took I suppose, a sort of a life of its own after that. But there definitely still seems to be somebody driving it in a very particular way. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but you do begin to wonder, why it is that it's been driven in this very particular way. And I wouldn't for 1 minute say that Celtic sports have been the only victims of it. But the amount of attention and resources that are put into observing and monitoring all of us, particularly those of us who go to away games, but even those of us who go to home games. I was told, and I haven't yet got this confirmed, that there are 900 cameras within Celtic Park. And so there does seem to be a very, big focus, if I can use that word, on us. Right. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I really haven't got to the bottom in whose interest this is. Certainly not in the public interest, certainly not in the public purse's interest. And what you're getting, and I think this is the most frightening thing, and this is the thing which I think every decent citizen of Scotland should be worried about, is you're getting a situation where you get a largely law-abiding population being criminalised, and you get a largely or a group who I think for young people are unusually political, and I think that's a healthy thing, being made to distrust the police and distrust politicians. And I'm not sure that's a good thing for society.
No, it's a dangerous precedent. And see us that attend the away games, I don't go as many as I used to, I used to never miss a game, but I was down at Fir Park a few weeks ago, and I was in the bottom tier, the south stand, over to the right-hand side, and I was in front of that police window, with them. So I seen the young guys for the Green Brigade putting their flag up, and I know a load of them, and the thing is, if any Celtic fan that goes to away games, half of them, they all go on all your supporters buses and stuff like that. It's not like this mysterious group that everybody tries to make it out to be.
Set apart, they're us.
Aye, exactly, they're just Celtic supporters. But see, as soon as they went and put the flag up, you wouldn't have seen this behind it. You'd think some Al-Qaeda boy had walked into the stadium, and they were all going about. And just the police then sort of just put all the resource to looking at that one corner round about where this flag was. And I just found it incredible. And you're standing there and nobody was a threat. I mean, all the police could have left that stadium and walked out and there wouldn't have been a fight. Do you know what I mean? It's just like 900 cameras at, say, whatever the many cameras is in Celtic Park. How much crime is committed at Celtic Park on a match day? That must be zero.
No, very well.
Exactly.
And there never was. I mean, coming back to the so-called game of shame, I think, if I can remember rightly, there was 5 arrests, and I think 2 of them were for smoking in the toilet. So, or 5 charges, and 2 of them were for smoking in the toilet. There was no violence then. There is no violence. There's no violence in Scottish football. It hasn't been for decades, and there's no crime unless you make something a crime.
Aye, and see the thing as well is I find that preposterous that see all these Celtic fans that are getting arrested. None of these charges are ever sticking. That everything's getting through to court. So why is there not a big meal made of this? Why is this not getting attracting news headlines?
And see, Jason, just to expand on that as well, Jeanette, like when you're talking about to take it slightly away from the police and back to Celtic a wee minute, and you're saying that you hear there's up to 900 cameras in the stadium, right? And then the point Graham brought up about Ross Connolly. And then the point Stephen Kearney brought up about the meetings he was in, and Peter Lawwell getting passing on the Section 111 guys who were going to be in Dundee and all this kind of stuff. I mean, why are Celtic and people are genuinely astounded at these revelations? I'm astounded listening to what people are coming out with here. Why are Celtic being so aggressive with this against their own supporters? I mean, what is there to gain for Celtic League?
Well, you need to address that question to Celtic really rather than me.
Well, sort of just like in your opinion, like in the meeting. I mean, you must have asked. You said you were disgusted with Peter Lawwell and the PLC for the actions they took on Ross Connolly. I mean, what is the sort of the feedback you're getting when you said you had to walk out of a meeting? I mean, what is the feedback you're getting for the club?
Well, we walked out of a meeting because the company secretary at the time, I said the guy couldn't afford to defend himself. He said, tough shit.
I mean, I just don't understand. I mean, it's absolutely heartbreaking to hear this sort of stuff going on with the club.
Look, I mean, it does seem mad to me because, you know, if Celtic genuinely thought, right, we don't like the Green Brigade and we don't like who they are, or we don't like the people in Section 111, or we don't like, you know, we guys who wear, is it clobber they call it? You know, we don't like you know, we don't like that. There's a very easy thing to do. They could just ban them all. They could just take their season tickets away and say, we're not selling any season tickets anymore. But they don't do that. So, you know, you have to assume why, you know, that they don't do that for a reason. I would like to think that they don't do that because they know that the Celtic support would stand in solidarity with them. I would like to think that was the case. I really can't answer for that. I mean, I can tell you the discussions we've had, and we report what happens because we don't have secret meetings with anybody. We're a representative organisation. We report back to members, and occasionally we report back more widely than that because we think it is of more wider interest. I really can't tell you a lot of the times why they do what they do. The sense I get is that they're terrified. Terrified of the press, terrified of the police, terrified of politicians. I don't get it. I don't get why.
To me, this is a total guess, man. It's like Dermot Desmond, image conscious. And it's just this, they need to be seen to be doing the right thing, and they need to, I don't know whether they're looking for a path down to England or they're looking for this, but they are terrified, aye. The only sort of rational explanation I can come up with is about their image. They want a worldwide image that everybody loves.
Jason, but see the thing about that though is that
everybody loves the Green Brigade.
Aye, the image is actually getting tarnished over all this. I mean, it seems to me that the easiest course of action to split the Green Brigade, who will tell you themselves they've only got something like 80 members, right? You hear about season ticket holders getting their seats moved all the time. Do you know what I mean? Why do they not just disband the Section 111 and move the guys out to different parts of the stadium rather than go down this sort of aggressive stuff with the police, colluding with the police, basically feeding this bill, if you like, from inside? I just don't understand what they can think to gain for any of this, because
it's not like most things, Paul. I don't think it's you think there's some great scheme or story that only if you understood it you could put all the pieces together. Quite often it's human endeavour's a bit more it's a bit less kind of organised, and it's it just happens. And so I don't actually think that everything that Celtic PLC have done is entirely consistent in this, because they did oppose the bill. Their submission to the Justice Committee was a pretty decent submission, which really opposed the bill. They say that they continue to oppose the bill. Haven't done much about it, but they say that they continue to oppose it. I expect that when the review period comes up that they will put in a submission saying they oppose it. So they oppose the bill. In terms of trying to, I don't know, you could be right about Dermot Desmond, but in terms of our reputation, we have a reputation. We are loved in the world. We already have earned that reputation. And again, the other thing is, if they really don't like the Green Brigade, but they certainly don't like them enough not to use their slogans on T-shirts, not to use their songs, not to use their banner displays on pictures that they sell back to us. They don't dislike them that much. So there's bits they like and bits they don't like. I mean, I think it's probably a mistake to try and think that there's some thread which connects all my position is that a PLC board is not and cannot ever be entirely on the same side as the Celtic support. My position is we are Celtic and they are the current custodians, and sometimes their interests and our interests coincide and sometimes they don't.
Very well put, and I wouldn't disagree with any of that.
Jeanette, I mean, to me it sounds like what you're saying is that, do you think the PLC are just kind of reacting to different situations as they come along, rather than saying, you know, like, well, we just need to have this thing where we just get rid of them all and that kind of thing, and that because, you know, they're not infallible, they're reacting to them pretty badly?
I mean, I think if you were to ask people what would they like, what they would like is they would like to turn up, pay their money, no greet about it, no send people like me in to moan at them, you know, clap politely, behave nicely for the cameras, and go home again. If you were to ask them that, I think that, well, you know, I think that's what they would like most. But I think, given that they're not getting that, I think you're right that they just react to things. And there's been, I can think of, you know, easily, you know, 6, 7, 8 times when we've been in meetings when they've said, oh, you know, the press said this and we had to do this. I said, no, you don't. You know, we'll get slaughtered, and you say, well, you get slaughtered anyway. Why don't you just do it for standing up for the right thing? You know, so there's all that sort of stuff. There's a bit of there's a lack of backbone, I think, in dealing with the Scottish establishment, really. And that includes the media.
Yep. Because we Fergus didn't put up with our muck, but we've definitely not got somebody with his sort of aggressive attitude, for want of a better term, towards the press and the establishment in Scotland. But you're right, and it's just, I don't think there's a big, massive conspiracy going on either, Jeanette. I just think it's mismanagement at certain times. I reckon maybe guys like Jamie Church and Douglas have maybe not been the best appointment for us. I might be totally wrong there. Was that?
You mean, I think when you say George Douglas, I don't think it's their name, it's Ronnie Hawthorne.
Oh, sorry, Ronnie Hawthorne, that's what I mean. Hawthorne and Church. Yeah, I don't think they're the best we could have for doing that specific role. I might be wrong, I don't know. Maybe they're doing a great job. I think maybe they influence Peter Law. Maybe it's not good influence. And so, but I don't know, I'm not an expert, but I can just see what I see with my own eyes. And you're right, Celtic support it's a great support. We've got a brilliant support, we've got a boisterous support. I go away in Europe, trips away in Europe, we like a drink, we like a sing-song, we like a laugh, but we're not a bad support. We definitely aren't they? We make a lot more friends than enemies. And I think
you're not going to ask me to sing tonight, are you?
But I think we've been a great ambassador to the club off our own back. You know, we don't need coerced into acting the way we should act. We act the way we want to act, and it's decent enough for most people. And I think what's going to happen Saturday, I think it's going to be a show of strength for the Celtic support and unite the Celtic support. But
on that, Jason, uniting the Celtic support, then, Jeanette, we've got a question here for Tony Cassidy on Twitter, and he says, what can fans do to develop and grow the Celtic Trust? And for the ordinary fan listening to this who doesn't really know much about the Celtic Trust and that, how will this be beneficial for the fans to join the Trust and grow the Trust and stuff like that?
So how can they best grow the Trust? They can join us.
Aye.
They can join and get involved. The Trust, just very quickly, because I've said all this before as well, but I suppose every couple of years, I suppose it's worth saying it again.
Definitely.
The Trust is really only, it was never meant to be a replacement or a competition for any of the other organisations. In fact, it was structured and set up so that every existing organisation had an automatic right to a seat on our board. Now that has been, that has never really happened. We did used to have people for the affiliation and the association turning up to meetings and occasionally, but it never really was maintained. But they had that right, and it's still in our constitution, because what the Trust is a financial and legal vehicle for combining shares together. So that's what it was really meant to be. It's set up. It's an industrial and providence society, and it's it's covered by the FSA. We need to make returns to it. So and it took a long time to set up because that's essentially what it is. So if we were to own shares in its own rights, in its own right, in common, so it's like a mutual, like a credit union or something like that, and we bring together shareholdings to vote at AGMs. So that's kind of the bottom line of what the trust is as an organisation. That's what it is. It's a legal vehicle. So if, for instance, everybody joined the trust. So joining the trust isn't joining the trust because you agree with Jeanette Finlay or you agree with Jodie Powler or Mary McCusker or you think that the trust's current policies on a variety of issues are the right ones. Joining the trust is because that's a vehicle for combining shares because, like it or not, and I don't like it, Celtic Football Club is currently owned by a PLC, and that's the only way to have some sort of influence. So that's how that would work. Obviously, while we wait for our long-term aim of owning Celtic for the fans, we act in a sort of a like any other fan organisation and try to represent the interests of our own members and occasionally sort of a bit more widely like that than that, and we combine with other groups to do that. So what we would... There are some trusts around the country that are huge, they're massive, and we have never been massive. This is often pointed at to us when we're disparaged and consistently. I don't know any other organisation who's so regularly asked how many members we have, and if you join, what the trust is about is basically combining ownership, shares in Celtic. Now you don't have to be a shareholder to join the trust, because when you join the trust, part of what your membership fee is really going towards buying shares in Celtic. I haven't bought any shares for a while, but we probably should. And you become a shareholder in common. So you don't have to be a shareholder to join the trust, but you become a shareholder in common when you do join it. And it's basically a democratic organisation, and we have a constitution, and we have meetings, and we take votes, and it's all very boring, but that's what we do.
So, for people who want to join it, Jeanette, just go onto the Celtic Trust website and simple instructions there.
Absolutely. It says membership on a button at the top, and you'll get a very nice letter from our Secretary, Mary McCusker, who will welcome you to the trust, and if she can manage it at all, she'll make you take her job. So everybody that joins gets immediately put onto something. So you won't get away without doing any work.
Okay. I'll send my membership in tomorrow. I will join you.
There's been a few in today, and I would like to thank Paul for that, because I believe you gave us a wee...
I had to massage Eddie Toner's ego for a wee bit for you, so that's what
I should tell you, Paul, that Eddie Toner's just sitting across the table from me just at this very point.
But no, I've done a wee vlog because it's one of the things I've been wanting to get ready for ages, and I thought, no, there's been a hell of a lot of good work, and I've seen some of the criticism you get, and I thought, stuff that I'm going to join as well. So I'd encourage everybody to do, because I think what you guys are doing is absolutely phenomenal, and I can't do Saturday either.
Aye, no, absolutely, Jeanette. And those that down cry you and try and put you down and stuff like that, it doesn't matter, because you're not representing them. You're representing the people that put the tenner in and part of their shareholding, so you're only representing your members. So at the end of the day, you're trying your best and you're putting yourself out there, and if people want to knock you, why don't they go off their arse and try to do something as well? And to me, what you're doing is only a positive. There isn't any negative part of it. It's... I don't know, I'm quite... See if the PLC is running the club well, we're winning trophies and everything's rosy in the garden and there isn't many issues with supporters and things like that, I would be happy to let them do it. I'm okay with that. But I know things can go sour, I know things can... People, if you're owned by a majority shareholder, let's say Dermot Desmond owns 40% of Celtic and his business goes down the Swanee, then Celtic would then suffer as well. So I can see the pros and cons of it, but
I'm not sure. I don't think that's right, Jason.
Well, is that because
it doesn't own 40% of the staff?
No, I know it doesn't. I'm just using that as an example.
But what I mean is, it doesn't actually make a difference. If his business, he's bought his shares. So in that sense, in some sense, he's the same as anybody else who's bought shares. If he had financial difficulties, then and he wanted to sell his shares, then he would sell his shares and somebody else would buy them. He doesn't actually fund Celtic. He doesn't, write a cheque to Celtic every week or,
But what I'm saying is, if you've got a majority shareholder that's got a good standing in the financial world, would it not make the company's credit profile more beneficial?
Oh, I'm not sure about that because I don't know about that.
That's what I was sort of mean. I don't know. It might be total codswallop as well. I was just thinking, if you've got somebody there that's a fallback mechanism and somebody that can sort of flex their muscle and use their influence in the financial whatever,
I'm not sure we need to worry about our credit. You do realise that sitting here between us, we will have more debt than Celtic PLC at this point.
Oh, aye, because things are going well at the minute.
I definitely have.
No, I have individually, I think, more debt than Celtic PLC. And I'm not saying that, I'm not joking. That's where we are, this obsession with zero debt. I don't run a business. I am not a businessman. But I can work out how to have... I'm not even a man, that's right. I can work out how to have zero debt. If you shut the club down, you'll have zero debt. If zero debt is the objective, the prime sole objective of Celtic PLC, shut it down, you'll have zero debt. But most companies of that size will have manage their debt to achieve their objectives. Now, we can argue about what Celtic's objectives are. I tend to think it's about putting, a winning team on the park and winning trophies, and that's what Celtic's objectives should be. And I don't think we've achieved that necessarily by aiming all the time for zero debt. Although I'm no suggesting for 1 minute that they should manage the club's finances in anything less than a sensible and prudent way. But they seem to have gone. We've been saying it for years, and that's been. I'm going to say this, and somebody can come back and contradict me. I don't think there's been net investment in the team since Seville. It's 10 years.
I wouldn't. We were talking about that earlier before you came on, and what I certainly don't want Celtic today is to be run as an institution that pays big dividends to its shareholders. I definitely don't want that at all. I don't even think shareholders should receive a dividend. The money should be invested back in the team.
Well, that's a PLC. You can't have a PLC.
I know, and that's sort of where I don't agree with the PLC sort of party. But as my point is, I'm just a simple football supporter, and all I want to see is Celtic delivering trophies and Celtic performing well in Europe and stuff like that. And see if all that's happening, all the other stuff I don't really care about. But it's when things aren't happening on the park, then you look. I think the modern day football fans are all potential accountants. And I like to sort of leave that stuff to the money men, but I see your point, because that can be dangerous as well. And if you're right, you've got a PLC, you pay dividends to your major you pay dividends to all your shareholders, but the more shares you get, the more dividends you get. But that money gets took out the club, which I don't want to see that.
Well, only if you don't sign up to the dividend reinvestment scheme, which was one of the many proposals that we put forward at an AGM, had soundly beaten and then been adopted. Celtic like to do that. We put forward ideas, they destroy them at the AGM, and then they actually adopt them. And the dividend reinvestment scheme, for anybody who's got shares out there, every year when you get your paperwork from the AGM, there'll be a document in it that says, do you want to sign up to the dividend reinvestment scheme? And what that means is, if you sign up to that, instead of getting if you get the lowest amount of shares, and the initial block of shares that people
600 quid.
Yeah, that's right, that's the one I've got. It's about 18 quid or something, or 16 quid. You don't get that. What you get is shares to that value. So what you do is you increase your shareholding, and the money doesn't come out of the club. Uh-huh. And that's what happens. So if you sign up to that, then you don't take your shares out, your dividends out, you get extra shares instead.
Because me investing in Celtic isn't to make money, it's just because it's something I love and it's something that I want to have a wee party, and I think the vast majority of Celtic fans would be the same. I think every Celtic fan should be the same, to be honest with you.
Sadly, there are people who claim to be Celtic fans who wouldn't have that view.
I know, and that's sort of the point I was sort of getting at. Maybe didn't make it very well, but I believe Celtic isn't the end we should be making money out of. It's something we should just be loving.
Jason, we've been joined by Stephen the Parrot Monaghan making his return to the HomeBhoys show.
Hello there, China.
How you doing, guys? I'm just out of rehab, I'm after Mellow Birds. It's just a quick call, actually, to speak to Jeanette. Just thank you, Jeanette. I never got an opportunity at St Mary's a few weeks ago. I was in giving my statement. I was just one of the daft scaffers who was caught up in the curtail. Obviously, that Saturday. No, it's just to say I'll be joining the organisation as soon as I can. And to be honest, Paul, I know I'd just like to thank you in the sense, I know you guys can't probably say as much as you can, but the only thing that really the last few weeks that's done anything for me with the name Celtic in it is yourself as an organisation and the people on the social media. There's been no direction from the club for people to walk up Abercrombie Street that afternoon and see mothers in their early 30s taking teenage boys who are 12-year-old to give statements on what had happened, and the club a mile up the road did absolutely nothing to promote it or advertise it on their multi-million-pound website with professional paid people to say this is going on. I know you people did. I know you guys didn't. You asked for Strathclyde Police, as it was at the time, and Celtic not to attend or be there. But the fact that they didn't actually advertise it. I seen Mr McMahon had actually retweeted one of the things I tweeted. Celtic asking politely for them to advertise it. To actually be sitting in St Mary's under a picture of Burra Walford writing my statement about police brutality was quite a sobering thing as a Celtic fan of 40 years. So I'd like to thank you, Paul, from the bottom of my heart. God bless you all.
Right, thanks very much. Can I just say as well, I don't think we didn't ask. It wasn't a Celtic event, a Celtic PLC event, or it was a FAC event, and that's what we did. Obviously, we didn't want police there. That's clear why we wouldn't want them. Part of the reason for having that evidence gathering session was we wanted to collect, signed statements from named individuals about what happened to them that day, because many of those people will not make a complaint directly to the police, and there are very good reasons why they don't do that. I would encourage anybody to complain officially to the police when anything happens that they think where a police officer has overstepped the mark. But I understand why people don't. We've had people going in and giving statements or having police officers coming to their house to take statements and being there 5 hours. We've had people, I myself went with somebody to make a complaint on one occasion, and the address that was given, I gave my address because the person didn't want to give their address, and 5 weeks later the police are at my door looking for that person at my address, so the address has been used for other purposes. We've had, I've heard one story this week of somebody who made a complaint against a police officer in relation to what happened 3 weeks ago, and being repeatedly approached by this person, the officer who'd made the complaint with it, and asked pointedly, "Are you all right? Can I help you? Can I help?" This sort of stuff. So I can understand why people don't want to do that, and that's why we as FAC decided we needed to take that evidence and we needed to put that together in a report which will not name people, but the signed and witness statements of people will be made available to a solicitor or an MSP who will testify that those are genuine bona fide statements, and that's how the report will be written. And that's what we're doing. So obviously we didn't want the police there, and obviously we want to hold the police to account. We didn't ask Celtic not to be there. It would have been nice if they promoted it. We have asked them to advertise the march. They haven't done that. So yeah, we would like to see a bit more backing from them.
If I could, Jeanette, I'd just like to say, obviously you were at St Mary's on the Saturday. For anybody who thinks, obviously the guys have been on saying at the last few shows, for anybody that thinks that it's an ultra problem or whatever else it is, the average age, for me personally, when I was in giving my statement, the average age of people in the St Mary's hall that afternoon was probably about 17, and I'm 40-year-old, so I'd probably bring the age up a bit, and obviously you're standing outside the old Strathclyde Police body yesterday. That was 5 people there. No Adidas trainers on, no Stone Island coach. This visage that the PLC's trying to paint of what what they're trying to eradicate from the game, which is basically just the heart and soul of the club, I feel. So, you know, it's beyond words, to be honest.
And I think the important thing about all of that is that we don't allow any section of our support, no matter what people call it, or no matter who they say they are, we don't allow any section of our support to stand alone. And we certainly don't allow our young people to stand alone. I just think the idea that we would allow people to be... and I don't think it's a good idea also to continually... It becomes a bit of lazy journalism or shorthand to say GB this and GB that and Green Brigade this and Green Brigade that. Often... these are not people who are a member of any organisation. They're just other Celtic supporters. Yeah. So the Green Brigade are neither the villains nor are they, the only people who are opposing the bill or the only people who are suffering, intimidation and harassment for the police. And they don't say they are either. Like the Trust, they often get accused of having views that they don't have and whatever. So I just think it's really important for all of us, from the youngest to the oldest, to stand together. And I can tell you that we've had quite a few, emails and letters from people who are quite, supporters in their 60s, 70s, offering us support and saying how disgusted they were at seeing, how those people were treated a couple of weeks ago. And that's people who probably don't know the ongoing, persistent harassment that's been going on for the entire, period of this bill, and actually the period leading up to it as well.
If I could just say one last thing before I go, guys, I'd like to add, Jenny, actually, I worked for the government for a period of years, and I've actually worked with the United Nations doing the disaster relief, so I was used to seeing large crowds of people being controlled by a very small percentage of it be police or military units, and the fact that there's been on a podcast one saying it was good policing, etc., but for me, as a person who's over watching it, when the inspector who's there supposedly governing a body of men and female constables to control a situation, when I see an inspector standing with his baton out, as I put in my statement, that to me is out of control,
It was horrendous.
But that's what I'd like to say, guys. So, Jeanette, hopefully it'll raise a few quid for you on Saturday night at Paul Larkin's book launch. We've got something planned that might involve the slosh and flogging a t-shirt, so I'll have to get the money to you somehow. And I'll say cheerio to the guys, and I'll talk to you soon. God bless. Ta-ra.
Cheers, Stephen.
Cheers, mate.
Jeanette, I've just had a private message on Twitter for somebody who would like to remain unnamed, anonymous if you like, who would have a sort of legal background, it would seem. He says, RE, the interdict against the boy mentioned earlier, Ross Conley. If you can tell Jeanette, if she likes to look up the term periculo potentis. Periculo potentis means that if someone gets an interdict on grounds that are false, then they are liable for damages. So Celtic have stated incorrect facts to the court. To get an interdict, they can now be found liable in damages. If that is so, the PLC should be very wary. So I don't know if that's a term that you're familiar with.
That would involve, I'm assuming that would also involve hiring a very expensive QC to represent you. So
what the guy's actually just said is he's just followed up with saying, well, the PLC board may very well back off a bit from interdict's stance if that is pointed out to them. Few lawyers ever mention it. So, this is probably something for, if it was brought to their attention that this would be something that could be sort of in breach of, it's maybe something that would stop them going down that route again.
Can you either email us or spell that out again?
It's obviously one of those legal Latin terms. It's spelled Periculo, 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 potentis. Potentis. Potentis.
Okay. Well, if there are any...
Jason has your number. I'll send it to Jason. He can text it to you.
QCs out there that would like to, represent Roscoe, I'm sure he would be more than happy to...
Yeah, that's a fair point.
But I think it was more a point that it could be brought up to the PLC that this is something they're in breach of, and maybe it'll stop them from doing it again, no.
But I think that again, that's very helpful when people, and similarly this week we've had quite a lot of various solicitors and different people getting in touch with the Celtic supporters, giving us some information and some advice, which is really, really helpful, and just shows you the sort of breadth, that sort of talent and whatever that's out there in the Celtic support, which has always been our position, which is why we think they need more say in the running of their own club, because that talent is there and willingly and freely offered. And it's great that he's done that. But I still come back to, maybe it's because I'm an economist, I still come back to the fact it's fine to have legal rights, and it's fine, but I think Celtic can be fairly safe in the knowledge that while they might be liable, they're not actually ever going to have to face this problem, because nobody will be able to afford to take them back to court with us. That's why I think they'll be fairly. I'm assuming Celtic get advice from top lawyers, and I'm sure those lawyers will have made that clear to them. I'm sure they know that. But the problem is they don't need to worry about it, because nobody can afford to take them back to court. I think that's the problem. So it's an economics problem rather than a legal problem, I think. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it's helpful to know these things. It's very, very helpful to have people coming and I mean, here's one I'll just throw out there, because we were talking about it at the legal observer training that we organised the other night. When obviously you're not allowed to have alcohol on a bus, and increasingly those of us who travel on buses observe that when we arrive somewhere, or even before we arrive somewhere, or maybe only a couple of miles after we set off somewhere, the police arrive and they start searching the bus. And sometimes
Stadium.
Yeah, sometimes if they do it when we arrive, people have already got off the bus. So they're going through the bus and they're searching people's bags while those people are not present. Now on our bus, we tend to leave somebody on, the bus convener or the secretary or somebody stays on and makes sure that they stay on while the things are being searched. But sometimes that can be after everybody gets off and it's just the driver that's sitting on the bus. And I'd love to know on what legal basis they're entitled to search people's bags. And whether there is a law that allows them to do that. So if there's any lawyer out there that can supply us with that bit of information for nothing, we'd be very happy to have it.
See, Jeanette, as well, Jason, sorry, somebody else has just come in on Twitter, Succulent Horse on Twitter, and has actually sent us an email link. And he says, if you follow this link, the 10th page of this explains the legality that we just mentioned there about the pericula patentis. So I've actually retweeted that to the Celtic Trust.
Great.
So you'll get that link and you'll be able to have a look. You'll be able to have a look at that. So.
Oh, that's good.
It's actually amazing that when people are listening and they start. It just shows you
So Jeanette, all your questions for the meeting, text me and I'll bring them out on that show every week.
You can have a wee legal section of that.
Aye, 10-minute legal section. This is for Jeanette Finlay or Celtic Trust.
Got another question, please.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, because the thing is, you're right. The raft of talent and among the Celtic support, that's out there that would give our club that support for nothing. Would give that advice free, and it's not getting tapped into. Because Celtic's one thing that we all love, and it's they could treat they do treat a lot of us like shit. They could do whatever to you, but you'll still go back because it's something that it's non-negotiable. You've got a undying love for it for the day you know anything about football to the day you die, and the amount of expertise out there and the difference in people's skills that follow Celtic should be tapped into that. They should be tapped into that because they've got a load. See through this Hail Media network, all the different podcasts and stuff like that. It's like 500,000 different downloads. But we've got nothing at all to do with the club. Nothing official. It's just Celtic fans talking a lot of crap to each other and getting guests on and things like that. And it's just a way of us conversing with each other about Celtic. And I think it's a lot bigger with the fans that live abroad because they don't have a vehicle of going to the bar and talking about Celtic and things like that, whereas we can all go to the pub.
I mean, these things are absolutely brilliant. I mean, as I say, I'm a bit of a traditionalist when it comes to, organisations which are about actually achieving things. I like to, go to a meeting, sit in a room, have a vote, decide what we're going to do, and then go and do it. But what you're talking about is a slightly separate thing, which kind of interacts with it very nicely. It works, which is the nice social side of it, where people are just talking about football. Quite often, we're beginning to think, maybe it's the age I'm now, beginning to think, I'd love to just go to the football and just enjoy the football and then not have to worry about all these things. And it would be great. It would be great to do that, but you still need people. You need organisations because, as you say, when things aren't working well, you can spend all the time you like sitting talking about it, but unless you sort of turn that into decided action and get that organised, then you need that as well. So it's not that one is right and one is wrong. It's that you need all of those things. And I don't necessarily want, however the club would be run, I don't necessarily want the club to have a hand in all of that. But I suppose, to go back to what I said earlier, I just think there are too many issues now where we're not on the same side, and that's when that's when you really start to think about how the club is owned.
And I just think the bottom line for me is there is Celtic fans out there that's getting treated wrongly by the club and the police, and nobody's fighting their case apart from you guys, and just normal Celtic fans that's fighting their case, whereas the club's doing them an injustice. And I know personally a couple of people that Celtic Football Club's doing an injustice to. I'm not mentioning any names, but there's ongoing cases, and it's just not fair.
Well, I mean, as I say, I'm maybe going to regret saying this, but I don't think we've ever turned away anybody who's come and asked us, said something's happened to them, and I don't think we've ever turned away anybody. We've always tried to try and fix whatever's happened, and usually quite successful, I have to say. We usually manage to sort something out for people. And on a broader scale, one of the things that we went back to Celtic recently was to say, you don't actually have a transparent, clear, disciplinary type of procedure. So where somebody actually has done something, and you're saying, look, we're going to suspend your membership for, that should be clear. You should know who it is that you speak to about that. You should be told what it is that you've been accused of, which the law specifically don't. You should be told who it is that you can contact. That person should be contactable. You should have a time scale for when you will be seen. You should be able to be represented. You should be able, and then you should have some idea of what will happen to you. Celtic don't have a system like that, and we drafted a system which is really based, as I say, on a sort of trade union style, one that you would have maybe in a workplace or somewhere, and we've given that to them. They're considering that at the moment, because at the very least, we're not saying that every single person that Celtic have cause to be concerned with is an entirely innocent individual. Sometimes people do that.
Not at all. Yep.
Sometimes it's no unreasonable, particularly if there is abuse of their staff, and that's something you could never condone. So, if that happens, then at least you have the person in, you hear their side of the story. It's not a court of law, but you say, well, this is what we're going to do, and you know in advance what's going to happen to you. But that's actually not what happens. What happens is people get a letter saying, your membership's been suspended indefinitely, and while they continue to deduct money off your bank account for cup tickets and things. So there's all sorts of things like that on. And usually if somebody comes to us, we're able to help out a bit. But again, we can only help people so far as our resources allow us to have individuals that are able to do that. So, now that we've got Paul on board, we'll be sending him in to represent people. So he laughed nervously.
I knew you weren't joking, that's why.
Can I just say as well, I know Paul's got his book launch on Saturday, but at the Kano Foundation, we've had Joe on for the Kano Foundation here, and they do a great job. They've got a play on at Celtic Park on Saturday after the game at 7 o'clock in the Kerrydale suite, and it's I'm no a Billy, he's a Tim, and it's 15 quid and pay at the door. So if anybody's looking for something to do on the Saturday night and they're not going to Paul's book launch and they want to come along,
he's already sold it anyway.
Aye. they want to come along, and Kerrydale Suite, I'm no a Billy, he's a Tim. If they can contact, even if you want to contact HomeBhoys on Twitter or whatever, but £15 pay at the door. I'm sure there's quite a few tickets available, and just for the guys in the Kano there. I'll be there, so you can come and see me.
What exciting stuff.
Oh, Dad,
I'm nearly going to go now.
a few folk might want to punch me. There you go, you're meant to say no.
So the other thing before you were seeing this week.
So Jeanette, just before we wrap up, just put it out there again how people can get involved with the Celtic Trust, where the website is, what the address is, the membership, all stuff like that.
Okay, it's www.celtictrust.net, and if you go into the home page, you'll see there's a membership button, and you can fill that in online, and you can send us a cheque or you can pay by PayPal, and it's £10 a year, and you'll be then advised of all meetings. So we have regular members meetings, and interspersed with that there's trustee or EC board meetings, and anybody who turns up will immediately be pressed into service. So that's good. We do have a whole lot of people who are members and faithfully pay their membership every year and faithfully proxy their votes to us annually for the PLC AGM, but never turn up at meetings because I think they're frightened they are going to get pressed into service. So there's plenty of people like that. But like any organisation, the more activists we have, the more we can do, and the bigger difference we can make.
Yep.
Perfect.
Well said.
Paul.
After the Kano night, there's a disco into 1 in the morning. I've just been texted that to say it as well. So there you go, Tommy, I've told you.
Is that us? Paul, anything you want to add?
No, I just want to thank Jeanette for her time. It was absolutely fantastic. I know it's had a great reaction on Twitter, so more power to you, Jeanette.
Right.
Great, Paul. Thanks, Paul. Right, so see you all on Saturday then.
Definitely. Thanks a lot.
You're not seeing me. I'm on overtime. I'm on overtime in Dublin.
Okay.
Jeanette, thanks a lot.
No bother. Bye.
Brilliant, Jeanette. Thanks a lot. Cheers. Hail, hail.
Right.
So, more fascinating revelations, legal arguments. I don't know. It's hard for me to get my head around a lot of this stuff. I mean, I wasn't involved in the last couple of podcasts you done with Steve Kearney and that, so to hear some of the stuff firsthand that's going on, it's just it's actually quite depressing. Like, you still there?
I'm still here.
I mean, it is. It's depressing. It's depressing. That's the best word for it. It's depressing.
See, to be honest with you, I said that there. I don't think there's a big conspiracy going on. I just think it's very amateurish and shabby.
I'm not saying it's a conspiracy either, but the whole thing it's just it actually makes you feel sad inside to think about this happening to a fellow Celtic fan who's just the same as me and you.
Oh no, I'm not for that. Absolutely. That's just terrible.
It's just, I didn't get it.
I'm talking about for the club's involvement and all that stuff. I don't believe there's a big conspiracy going on. But I just believe they're acting wrong and they're not doing the right thing. But I just think it's through negligence more than guilt. I don't know if that's the right phrase I'm trying to come up with, but
I know what you're trying to say, but you've got to think as well, how could people as clever as them at the game they're at, how high they are, how well thought they are, be so negligent? Which is the thing that baffles people, which is where the conspiracy theories then come in, because people think, how can people be that stupid?
But they openly oppose this bill, and they're saying contact us, and they're saying here's my email address.
And you said Sixtus is saying, I'm saying it's a conspiracy. We knew that, Paul, for God's sake. He's banging the drum right now.
Oh, I know. I'll be at the demo on Saturday, absolutely, but I just don't want to think Celtic's involved in all that stuff, I don't like feeling like this, but there's no doubt about it. They have got a certain amount of blood in their hands now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're absolutely complicit. There's no doubt about that.
Aye, I'm not denying that, but Do you think there's a total conspiracy involved, Paul, or do you think it's more incompetence?
I think that they're being very badly led by people who are acting security officers and are ex-policemen and are thinking like ex-policemen in this kind of thing. And I think that the stuff that I heard through Jeanette there and Stevie Kearney, the targeting fans is just incredible, and I find that just reprehensible. And I think that Celtic really, really have to get this sorted out very quickly, or they're going to face a backlash like they've never seen before.
I would agree, and I've said that. I've been on record saying that. Yep, they need to sort this out. And I'm not saying I want Roddy Peter Law, not at all. I just want them to stand up to the plate and fix this.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do. I'd love to see him go.
Oh, there you go, mate.
Just one last thing. Could anybody, if you're a religious belief, if you could have a wee thought and prayer for Joe McKenna tonight? He's gone through terrible pain with toothache. He was about in tears on her thread today. Oh, I'm not getting much sympathy.
Well, when he's on the show, it's like a night in with toothache, so it's
then when he starts singing, oh God almighty.
Toothache to the ears. That's terrible. Right, so listen, that's 10 o'clock. That's 2.5 hours. It's about time for wrapping up, is it?
There we go. Back with a bang, Harper, Back with a bang.
It's the number one host, That's all.
That's it, mate, that's it.
So please, as I say, stop emailing me. I'm back. Yeah, you are laughing. I've kept the emails. I'll show you.
Are folks starting to sign the checks they're sending you?
I did actually get 2. Hey, anyway, I'm going to play. I'm pissed here, by the way. You wouldn't even believe I've drank about 10 bottles of Muller.
Don't eat any Easter eggs.
I'm just going to play it a wee bit. Jimmy Johnson singing "Passing Time" just because it was in my head, and that's what I'm going to play, and that's it. Maybe it doesn't fit the night, but there you go. That's what I'm playing. I've got the controls. I can do what I want.
Hey guys, good night. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.
Right. Cheers, guys. Thanks, everybody listening. Remember, you can contact us at HomeBhoys on Twitter, homeboys@gmail.com, HomeBhoys on Facebook, at Hail Media on Twitter. And you've got all the other shows. There's hundreds of them. I can't even remember what they're called. There's that many of them, right? But check them out. And don't forget, Half the World Away on Friday, 11 o'clock Celtic Park time. And they're going to have Jim Blythe coming on talking about the ceremony in New Jersey we spoke about earlier. And I'll be the first thing I download when I finish work on Friday because Jim's quality. I'll listen to that guy all day. So right, anyway, good luck to everybody. Get yourselves along to the demo on Saturday. Don't just sit there on your couch and think somebody else has got to do it. Everybody get off their arse, get along there, then get to the game, win the league. Go to Paul's book launch. If you're not booked in for that, go to the play, support the Kano Foundation. Negativity? What negativity? It's all good. Hail, hail, guys.
Hail,
hail. Passing time, everyone's passing time, everyone their whole life through, passing time like me and you. Children play their cares away, life is fun, life is gay, building castles out of sand, living in their wonderland. Lovers know time goes by, days are long, minutes fly, fleeting glances mean so much, a lover's sigh, a lover's touch. Passing time,
passing time, everyone's passing time, everyone their whole life through, passing time like me and you, time to laugh, time to cry, time for us to wonder why, moments precious when they're gone, memories that linger on, summer sun, winter snow, autumn leaves, springs aglow, raining changes in the sky, passing time like you and I, passing time, passing time, everyone's passing time.